Troy Ericson. I looked up you. $80 million you're worth. That's what it said on Google.
That's what it said on Google.
Yeah.
That's not quite accurate.
Not quite accurate?
So in my post about that, I said
I saw that too.
They gave me a big boost in net worth and a really low number in height. So
I didn't even see your height.
You win some, you lose some. They said I was 5'8", so...
Oh, yeah, you're definitely taller than that. How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot. So would you rather be 5'8", worth 80 mil, or 6 foot and worth a lot less?
6 foot and worth a lot less, because I'll be worth more than 80 million. I'm 6 foot.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
Well, it also said that you were happily married to your wife. So
yes, that is true.
That is true.
They did a good job. Like, a lot of it was very true.
Yeah. I read the article. I was doing a little research on it just because I saw your post. I was like, let me look this up. I was like, that's a great opening hook. But how you doing, man?
Good. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Denver, it's always fun. It's got the mountains in the background.
Yeah.
So.
What are you doing in Denver?
So my wife's family lives here. We just had our first anniversary.
Oh, that's right. Congratulations.
Celebration.
Marriage
Thank
is the best.
You. Yeah.
Yes.
So we're in San Diego, and then we came here, and then we're going back to Tampa.
Do you like married life?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's fun. It's an adventure, and every day it's like you love each other a little bit more, even though you thought you were already loved her like as much as possible. It just grows every day, and it's just fun. It's like a best friend and partner, and like so much more.
Have you found any of like the quirks that you didn't know about either yourself or about her that like you didn't know like existed yet?
Gosh, we knew each other for probably almost 2 years before we got married, and we were dating for about 16 months. And we, like, since the minute we decided to go on our first date, I was out in San Diego, so I actually flew out to meet her, because I'd met her once at an event before. And she was working for Steph Georgia, who's my mentor. And I was like, okay, this might be a little bit weird, right? Because like Stefan's my mentor, she's his executive assistant. Like, I don't want to like make anything weird. Yeah. For all three of us. But Stefan, he's gone a lot of different directions. At one point, he like completely cut out his personal brand. And at that point, he was like, hey, I don't need an executive assistant. So she was kind of let free. And at that point, I was like, okay, like it's not going to be weird anymore. Yeah. So one day I was running a little event in Tampa, and she had been like texting me some hints and whatnot, and I was just not picking up on it. But one day I was running this little event in Tampa, and I posted on my Instagram story, and I was like, hey, what questions do you guys have? Because we were going to, like stream some of it. Yeah. And then she replied back. She was like, when are you coming to San Diego? I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's pretty obvious. Did you get that hint? I did get that hint. Good. And I booked the flight for like 5 days after that, maybe. And she was really scared in retrospect, but I went out and like we started hanging out in San Diego, and we had such a good time. Nice. I like pushed back my return flight, and we have hardly spent any time apart since then. I'm not joking. So in total, in the last probably, what is it, like 28 months now, since then, we've probably been apart for a total of like 1 month. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
I feel like that's how my wife and I are a little bit different. It's funny. We actually met at a bar, and I don't drink, and she was the general manager. But I would go, I was single, right? And like single, middle of nowhere, Nebraska, I didn't know anybody. So I would go to this bar every day for lunch and for dinner. I'd sit at the bar, I'd order food. I didn't drink like ever, right? Yep. And then she was transferred over and was the general manager. And like, I had never I'm not one to like, girls aren't my thing per se. Like I didn't like flirt with people. I didn't ask people out. Yep. Like I wasn't a casual dater at all, right? Like, and I wasn't really looking. But I was like, all right, you seem cool, right? And so I asked her out, and I was like, hey, you want to go out, hang out, or go on a date? And she was like, I can't date regulars. And so the next day, I literally drove up to the thing. I sat in my car. I called in a to-go order, and then I walked into the restaurant. And I was like, hey, you want to go out? And she's like, I told you I can't date regulars. And I was like, oh, I'm not a regular anymore. I'm just here to pick up my to-go order. Yeah. And I did that like every day for like 3.5 months. To like just
didn't that make you a regular?
Yes, but I didn't eat there. Like I took my to-go order and then I would drive home. So I was just waiting, right? Exactly. So it didn't break the rules. But we started dating, and we've been together coming up on my anniversaries on Monday actually. The 20th. Oh wow! Yeah. And that'll be 3 years of marriage and almost 6 years together.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah, that's cool. You should have told her that you knew a good bar to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because she doesn't, she drinks more than I do. But like she's not a big drinker, but I don't like exclusively, I don't drink. Yeah. And so it's always funny when people are like, how'd you meet? I'm like, we met at a bar. And they're like, what? But anyway, you're an email.
I am.
Right? The email paramedic. Are you still the email paramedic?
I am. I'm potentially rebranding soon, depending on if this domain sale goes through.
Yeah.
But
which domain sale? Can you say?
Emailmarketing.com.
Emailmarketing.com.
Yeah, it's been a month since I bought it. It's not in my account yet. I'm dealing with GoDaddy to try to get it. But at the end of the day, anybody can be email whatever, but there's only one person that can be email marketing.
It's interesting because, like, do you remember the first time that we interacted?
At Sam Ovens, I believe.
Okay, let me rephrase that. The first time that we did a business transaction before then, remember you had that like code that got you out of the thing?
Okay,
right?
okay.
So
I remember
it was
now.
like $5,000 or something like that. And I had a client and I don't know, they had like 10,000 people on their email list or whatever. And like I could not for the life of me like get it to go to the inbox, right? Like I was like our open rates were like 10% or 15% or something like that. And I kept seeing like, I don't know if it was your post or your ads or whatever.
Probably ads.
Right? And it was like, we've got this code or whatever that'll like go. And I'm like, this, no way, right? There's no way, like whatever. And so we ended up paying you $5,000. And I was like, how long is this going to take? And whoever I was dealing with, they're like, oh, we'll have it to you like later today or tomorrow. I'm like, there's no way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and sure enough, you sent over this thing and we put it on there. And I'm telling like the next email, like it went and our open rate's probably double or more, right? And I was like, okay, something's clearly working here. You know how like in the online marketing space, it's like you see a lot of people make a lot of big claims.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like a lot of times it's like, even if you buy their stuff, and sometimes they're legit, but like even if you buy their stuff, it takes like forever to like get a result, right? It was like, that was like my first interaction with you was like, I paid $5,000 and like later that day it like worked. I was like, all right, this guy knows what he's talking. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that do email. Explain what is it that you actually do?
Okay, so I would call myself the modern creator of email list management. So
modern creator of email list management.
Yeah, there's some people have used that term before me, but like in a very like at home kind of way where it's like them and a few friends know about it, like a little bubble, right? So anybody who calls himself an email list manager today likely learned from me, especially if they're under the age of 40. I'm not saying that out of ego, it's just true.
Yep.
So email list management has three components. So there's copywriting, which everybody knows about.
Yep.
And then there's deliverability, which not many people know about. And then there's also like automations and strategy, which some people know about.
Yep.
So if you can take all three of those and combine it into the same person or the same, vendor that you're dealing with, it's just way more efficient and you get way better results. So
copywriting, as in like messaging, the words you actually use.
Yes.
Deliverability on the tech side of things. Right. So like the technical details, and then automations would be like the sequences and stuff on the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So basically, we come in and we make sure if somebody opts into your list, to your business, to your world, they're going to get emails that make sense to them and introduce you to them. And then we make sure that those emails hit the main inbox. And then we make sure we keep emailing them over time so they can know, like, and trust you and buy from you.
Okay. I got to pause. We got to build up credibility here for a second. Give me some stats. Like how much money have you made or like have you generated for people? Like give me the sexy highlight reel so that people know you're legit.
Yeah. So I always tell people we've generated over 9 figures from email. It's probably more than that. It gets hard to track at a certain point.
Yep.
Because there's the numbers that you have in Hyros from actually writing the emails for people and sending them. Yes.
Yep.
So we haven't even gotten into Hyros completely until recently. We're like getting all of our clients onto it. And then there's other clients that you do a deliverability project for that are like big names, including like, Uncle G, for example, and some other projects, other large people that can't always say. But they, it's like you're in the account and they're at like 20 something percent. And then all of a sudden they start hitting 30 and then they start sending more emails. And you're thinking, gosh, I wonder how much extra money this person has made because I helped their deliverability. And it's very difficult to track. I wish I could have the exact number. To be honest with you, I think 100 million is way too low. Yep. But I just want to be transparent. And that's like 9 figures is a pretty good benchmark.
Yep.
So
from revenue is always the best one, right? Because that's fun. For our nerds that are a little bit more into the internet marketing world, right, or marketing in general, give me some stats around like some impressive things, whether it's, I don't know, the total amount of emails that you sent or the size of lists that you worked with, or like, I don't know, give us some stats around that.
Yeah, so like list size, I mean, some of the smaller projects we work with, especially recently to help people with like Google compliance with all the updates this year. I mean, there's people with, lists like 3 to 5,000, really small. And then there's people that have, millions on their list. Like Joel Marion refers a lot of business to us, and some of his former portfolio companies. So we have some of those on board, and those guys are in the millions. So wow. It's truly like, obviously I like lists that are more than 10,000, like bare minimum. It's like, if you have a good list and you have a high ticket offer, it's like more people and a higher price tag. It's just a formula for better success. Whereas if you're an e-com, you're selling something that's like between $50 to $200 per order, you need a pretty big list to make a sizable amount from that. Plus your margins aren't as good.
I do want to get into the, like the 3 things that you talked about there with like email list management. But before that, I want to talk about email in general, right? And like maybe like your approach to it and just your philosophy of like why you believe in it so much. Because so I grew up in the social media world, right? And I got started in Instagram. And so Instagram was I was kind of right place, right time. I say right place, right time. Like 2 and 3 years of failure and then right place, right time, right? You know what I'm saying? So I got into Instagram, and then Instagram, kind of blew up, and then Facebook groups popped off, right? And so I had a pretty big Facebook group. I don't know, we had 30 or 40,000 people in that. And then, we were growing Facebook groups like crazy. And so when people were like, your list, to me, my list was my group. Right. I didn't understand email, right? Because I'm like, I don't know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, like whatever. The only thing I used email for was to tell people about events that we were hosting inside of the group. That was it, right? Yep. And so I didn't get it. And so to me, like Facebook groups were the most profitable thing. I mean, we made literally millions of dollars off of these Facebook groups. But then like people kept saying the money's in the list, money's in the list, money's in the list. And then, email is the only list you actually own, right? Or like whatever. And then as Facebook groups kind of evolved, and I mean, I feel like Facebook butchered like the opportunity, dude. Like what? How did that happen? Let's just pause there. How did that happen? Like, how did Facebook butcher it that bad?
I don't know, but I mean, it seemed like, when was that they started pushing groups again? It was like maybe a year or 2 ago. Yeah. And it just seemed like you were getting so much extra reach. And then now, I mean, like pages have always been going down. So like that's completely out of the picture. Yeah. I like that they're letting you run ads from your personal profile now.
It's amazing.
But the only problem is I was running ads in 2020 when I started to get some traction for one of my low ticket offers. And I got permanently restricted immediately for running an offer called the Unsub Secret, which just shows you how you can make money when people unsubscribe from your list by essentially putting an offer on the unsubscribe page. So they unsubscribe.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
They're compliantly off your list. Yeah. So it's completely compliant. And then on the next page that pops up after they click unsubscribe, there's like an affiliate offer or, something else, right? So you should always be putting things on all the different pages.
Yeah.
Like, why not? It's blank space.
You're like Russell Brunson, man.
So I was teaching people.
Kern.
I'll take the compliments.
Yeah.
I was teaching people how to do this. And apparently because I had a dollar amount in the headline that I just got immediately restricted, like not the ad account banned, like temporarily or permanently, not the, like ads manager, but like me personally, immediately for no reason.
Are you still? Yeah.
So if anybody, like if you know anybody.
I got you.
Okay.
I was that level, but like in politics, bro. Couldn't do anything. Yeah. And like it was so bad that like we set up a page with my name, like completely disconnected from me in any way, like created it from my assistant's profile that like we weren't in the same building or anything like that, like created it. I had no association with it whatsoever. We created my name. And like, as soon as we created it and tried to run ads to it, it shut down the page and it banned her profile as well. Like it was that banned. Like my name was banned.
In this industry, it's very much like, hey, I know a guy.
Right. And that's, I got you. I got you. We can talk afterwards on that. Like, I feel like school is solving the problem that Facebook groups very much could have solved. Right.
I have some thoughts on this.
Okay.
I've managed to get back on Facebook using my mom's account and like, some other strategies, and it's a mess.
Amazing.
I would love to get my profile back so I don't have to ever deal with pages again.
Yeah.
Now groups, let me just give you a whole summary of groups and school in my opinions. When I started to get some traction and I was still a solopreneur, at the time I was probably making like 50-ish grand a month. And I was like, okay, I feel like I'm qualified to be a coach now. I'm not one of these people that is like $8 grand a month and decides to be a coach. So I started this Facebook group called Email Secrets. At the time, when I first launched the funnel, I wanted it to be 97 a month. Nobody took it. I changed it to 49. Everybody took it and there was a free trial. So I was like, all right. So I ended up growing this thing, growing. And then it was mostly organic because I got shut down from Facebook.
Yeah.
So I couldn't grow up from the funnel anymore.
Yeah.
And by the time that it was at its peak, I was making like 25 grand a month just off of that.
A $49 a month, yeah.
Yeah. So at that time in total, I was probably making like 60 to 80, somewhere in there. Not totally sure. And it was going good. And then school came along and I was like, I really like the concept of charging for a year up front because typically if you give them a little discount, they're essentially getting 12 months for the price of 10.
Yep.
And if I just charge them monthly, they're going to leave after about 4 to 6 months, even if they get great results, right? Like they're going to get bored. It's natural. Like I'm not mad at them. It's there's so many other things to do and get distracted by. So I was like, all right, this is cool.
Good. Yeah, that's true.
So I took the group. I gave them a really good deal to go over to school in my new email list management certification program. So I took a lot of time, built out an entire program that was better than the Facebook group, moved everybody over to school. And then after that,
when was this?
This was April 2022.
Okay, so 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. Then over the course of that summer, it opened up to everybody who wasn't in the Facebook group already. And by the way, like when I launched that and at the beta price, I made 101 grand in 24 hours. It was like the first time I'd ever done something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And we smashed the previous year. So that year we did about 2.7 in 2022. And the year before that was 400K. So like I was seeing this crazy growth.
Yeah.
So anyway, get everybody over to school. I start opening it up to my entire list, like people who were not previous customers. And it was going great. And we got all these people into school. I was like, I'm collecting cash up front. We have all these people in it. They love school. It's new. It's exciting. But the issue is, I realized, and I've said a lot of good things about school. And I love Sam. I don't know much about Alex. I talked to him once. And it was not a great conversation. That's another funny story. But anyway.
Are you going to crap talk Alex Ramosi right now? No,
I'm not going to crap talk him. No. Anyway. So I got everybody over to school and it seemed like it was going great. And then after about 6 months, the engagement started to dip. I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. Like, same sort of issue, like people, they get distracted after a while. But the problem is, eventually I'd start to see these same students that were in my school group, and they would message me on Facebook and ask me certain questions. And I would try to DM them on school on occasion, and they would never get back to me on school, and they would get back to me on Facebook. And I would see them participating in different groups on Facebook. And I've come to the conclusion that I would never invest again in a company outside of social media, because let's look at Facebook. Like,
wait, did you invest in school?
I didn't. Okay. Sorry, I mean invest in the context of in my business. But I was offered the opportunity when Sam closed the Quantum Mastermind to take the remaining balance and put it into school, and I'm glad I didn't, because I just think,
I did, and I put more in, and I'm very happy. I did. Yeah,
and I'm glad about that for sure. It's just, and like obviously I don't know what the returns are right now, but my point is, like, going forward, I don't want to bet against companies that do billions of dollars a year. They have dopamine and addiction down to the T.
But what's the issue with it though? Like, do people just aren't engaged on there? Yeah,
because they went to school, and then as soon as they got bored of school, they came back to Facebook, because that's what a lot of people open every single day before they get out of bed. They have dopamine and addiction down to the T. They do billions of dollars a year. And they know every single thing about you that you don't even know about yourself, to keep you on the platform as long as possible.
Yeah.
So I see all these people coming back, and I think it's only a matter of time. And this is my opinion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time before all these internet marketers go to school, use it for 6 months, get bored, and come back to Facebook.
You might not be wrong on that. Like, to me, Facebook is a distraction hellhole, dude. Like, it is so bad. And like, if I open my Facebook app, it's like my productivity is just like, right? So do you think that the higher the price that someone's paying, the less that would be an issue of people not engaging over there? Like, do you think low ticket stuff is
there's a lot of people, because like the Sam Ovens price point, right? I picked $5,800. That's where it's at currently. So there's a lot of people that pay $5,800 for a year of my email list
for yours. Okay,
certification program. Okay. And they still disappear after 4 to 6 months. And I see them active on Facebook.
Interesting.
Now, I know a lot of my audience and like a lot of my upbringing and how I got started happened on Facebook.
Yeah.
So of course there's different people that are maybe, more popular on Twitter. And I don't know if they have groups over there. I need to get on Twitter, or X, by the way. But
I was on there, and like, don't get me wrong, I love it, because it's like, it's the Wild West there, dude. It is I remember they were talking about someone was interviewing Elon. This was before he bought it, right? And they were like, you you are so good at Twitter. And so someone else is good at Twitter too, the former president, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, yeah, he's very, very good at it, right? And people are like, but why are you so mean, right? And he's like, if you get into the ring of the war zone, like, be ready to fight, right? Like, this is war type of deal, right? This is like this. And like, that's how I feel like it is, dude. Like, Facebook and YouTube, you think it's mean, right? Like, you think Facebook and YouTube are mean, or even Instagram, like in those comment section, dude, it is nothing compared to X. I couldn't do it, right? I like the brain power that took to, I consume, but I don't create on it because like I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I do want to try it out again.
Yeah.
Because I even saw a post from Stephen Georgi like a few days ago. And he's like, I posted this exact same video here and over there.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to say the word Twitter while you're on Facebook.
Right.
And it was like 44,000 views at the time that he posted it.
They're pushing video for sure. But I want to go back to the school thing here for a second. I used to try to be unbiased on things, right? I'd be like, I want to see all sides of the opinion. And then I was like, this is too exhausting. And like, if we're going to sit down and have a conversation about maybe like religion or morality, then I will, right? I'm like, cool, let's see all sides. But on some things, I'm just like, I'm biased, right? And I'm biased towards school. I use school. I'm an investor in school. I love Sam. I'm friends with Sam. I believe in Sam. I believe in Hormozi, right? Like, I bet on people. And I'm like, if I got some money to bet, they're a good team to bet on, right? Also, I do understand, because I do hear the complaints similar to what you're saying with engagement rate and, you know, things of that nature. Do you think that over time, like as school continues to grow and it becomes more and more popular and more people download the app and more and more communities are on there, do you think that over time that it could solve that problem of not being engaged on there? Or do you think that you're facing a Goliath in Facebook and that they're never going to win?
So I think the issue is that it's not inherent with school. And like I said, I really like Sam.
Yeah.
Don't know Hormozi well, but obviously he's a genius.
Yeah.
So I think right now it's really riding on the fact that Hormozi's involved, because when you look at any platform, it doesn't matter if it's school or literally anything else. I just don't think it's going to beat all the social media platforms. It's not a personal dig against school. It's like every platform. Like, what's the biggest difference between school and Circle?
I mean, I've never used Circle, so I don't. I mean, I've logged in a couple of times. I don't know. To me, school is very intuitive. It's way simpler. It's like, I've never had to do any education on how to use school on any of the people I've referred over as a referral or that I've brought on there. It's very, very intuitive. It's like the iPhone, right? Like my mom, and Mom, I love you to death. I love you, right? Like, but I mean, technology is not her thing, right? But she knows how to figure out an iPhone, right? I feel like it's the same thing with school. And I don't think school is trying to be a social media platform, right? Sam described it as, you know, you're taking your calendars, you're taking your, you know, course membership area, you're taking community, putting it all in one. And, you know, I think it's more of a paid membership platform than it is a free membership platform. Although I know they're pushing free, but like on their thing, it's talking about making money, right? So I feel like it's not competing with Facebook. I feel like it's a completely different thing. And because we as internet marketers have been, you know, because marketers ruin everything, right? Like we go, oh, we're going to use Facebook's for, you know, Facebook groups this way for paid communities or like whatever. And so we compare the two, but I don't think they compete, right? Like I could have a Facebook group and be super active over there, and then I could have a paid community over on school. And so I just hired an integrator, and I battle with her a lot over this, right? And other people, which is, I'm like, people want to change their life, right? They literally want to make life-changing money. They want to learn how to make, you know, sell stuff for $25,000 or $10,000, or they, you know, make 6 figures or 7 figures, whatever the thing is. Then they complain that they have to download an app, right? And it's not in Facebook, or they complain that they've got to watch a 3-hour video, right? And I was like, or you can shut up and do the work. You know what I'm saying? And so like, there's this balance of it, but to me, it's not a competing thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. And like, I like school too. Yeah. Like I have, I think 2 active groups on there right now. Yeah. And there's one of them that's basically a 4-week program. And there's no real problem with engagement there. Yeah. Like there's always the issue of people, you know, buying something and never logging in, but that's human nature.
Yeah.
Like you can't fix that.
Yeah.
Like you're doing somebody a morally good deed if you can like show them exactly what to do. But if you can't, like you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. Right. Yeah. So that's just a human nature thing. But like, I like the features of school. I just don't think that, you know, beyond where it's at right now, I don't think there's a lot of upside.
But it'll be interesting to see what the next decade brings.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And once again,
too.
I'm biased, so don't look at me as an objective opinion here, right? Like I'm definitely biased on it. But
like there's a lot of platforms that are similar. Like yes, I think it's better than Circle and Experienceify right now, but they're all just like similar, and I think they're kind of gonna get washed together more or less. And I think one of the biggest things that's missing is the entertainment piece. Like essentially what they're trying to do is build like the Netflix for like learning how to make money or like build skills on the internet.
What, who, school?
Yeah. Well, think about it, right? They're trying to get a whole bunch of different platforms and groups and like variations of people and audiences to use school and make it this place where you can log in and find a group for just about anything that you want to learn how to do. And
yeah, it's community based though.
Right.
It's community, not Netflix.
Yeah,
or
it's
entertainment.
Like Netflix with a community, but like if you don't entertain people, they're going to be bored. So let's look at it this way.
I agree with that 100%.
A good person to ask, my friend Rich Sheffrin. So he has something called Steal Our Winners, where basically he takes his 20-something year history of internet marketing, and he interviews a lot of people, including myself a few times, just with like different strategies that are working right now in internet marketing. And as entrepreneurs, we get shiny object syndrome very quickly. No. So it's very exciting to log in and go watch the latest, strategy or the latest like Facebook ad thing or like this Twitter thing or this email thing that's like new and shiny and TikTok shop and whatever else.
Yep.
I don't know how it's doing. To be honest, I'll have to ask. Maybe he would be a great guest and to get his opinion on this whole thing as well. But that is literally like a Netflix for internet marketers. But I kind of see school in the same boat, just with the community aspect as well.
Interesting.
So I like it as a consumer to an extent, right? So like if I have a year-long program and I want to retain people for a long time, I think it's going to be difficult just about everywhere unless you are constantly entertaining.
I think that was probably the biggest shift in my content creation online, was understanding that people don't want to be educated. They want to be entertained.
Yep.
At every level. Doesn't even matter, right? And Elon Musk is the perfect example of this. Like, dude, you scroll his freaking X profile. It is so freaking funny, right? I mean, this guy is literally the richest man on earth, and he is shit posting like other billionaires, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know another guy who does that too. I don't think there's any. I don't think podcasts get filtered if I say Trump.
Yeah,
hopefully not.
Yeah,
but you never know. I mean, Apple runs it. So.
Yeah, well, on YouTube, we put a lot on YouTube too. So yes, they certainly do. But no, I mean, he does too. Although, do you think he's coming back? Think he'll come back on?
I'm not on Twitter all the time.
On X,
so,
on Twitter, yeah.
He's not on it right now.
No.
Okay, well.
He got reinstated, and he made one tweet, which was when he was, when they did the mugshot. He put a mugshot tweet up there, and it was a link to a fundraiser, and that was it. And it got something like 200 million views or something like that, right? Or whatever. But that was it. And he just pinned that one. But no, he hasn't come back on. He's on Truth.
Yeah, I've heard that's not doing too well. But.
No.
I'll tell you the truth. Josh. It's not going well, but it's going to go well. And we will win, and we will win.
I hope so, man. I just can't see it. I can't see him winning. I can't see it. But anyway, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. I can't see Biden winning either. But
that's the thing, though, right? I'm like, there's no way Biden can win.
I can't see America winning with this election.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like every time I look at Biden, I'm like, there's no way this guy can win, and then I'm like, there's no way Trump can win. And I'm like, well, RFK is definitely not going to win, right? Like, there's no way that guy wins. So I'm like, I don't know. If I had to guess, though, I think we get 4 more years of Biden. But anyway, going all the way back to lists. Facebook group was my lists. And then Facebook groups, they had their peak and then they kind of died off, right, for a while there. And that's when I think I kind of opened up my eyes to the fact of an email list. Because when Facebook groups started to die and Facebook groups they just took so much time to manage, dude, right? Like, I had 40,000 people in a group, right? And it was like, that was my full-time job, right? It was just keeping that thing engaged and being entertaining, right? And so when I stopped doing that, I remember I sent an email to my list one time. It was for like a $97 offer or something like that. And I made like $10,000 off of like 2 emails. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? I'm like, is this what people are talking about, right? And as I've grown in the business of just business in general, but particularly online, email has been like the one thing that like day in and day out, it's like if your email list is healthy and email list is good, it's producing, right? And like obviously there's things with that as far as maintaining it and whatnot. But as someone who I am not a writer, right? And the times that I do write, like I'm definitely not grammatically correct. I don't write in cohesive thoughts all the time, right? Like it's like I type in like journal, but it's like for my own, to process my own brain. So that's always been a struggle. But when it comes to email for you, talk me through how you view it and think about it, like kind of from an overview perspective, because I'll give you kind of what I'm looking for here is like you look at Russell, right? And I'm pretty good friends with him. And like, dude, everything in that man's life is a funnel. Like everything, dude. Like you go into his house and he's like, well, first we go here. And if we want this, we go here. Like even how it's designed, I'm like,
I can see it.
It's 100%, right? And like all the time, it's all comes back to that thing. And it's kind of like that lens of this is how his brain works. And so I'm curious, like with email with you, like how do you view it kind of holistically as a lens? How do you think about email in general?
Yeah, so there's, I like to use some math with people. I know people don't like math, but I try to make it easy math. Okay. So I like to know a few things. I want to know, like, how many people do you have on your list? Mm-hmm. I want to know how many emails you send a week. And I want to know what your deliverability is. Let's just say, well, really easy math, right? So you have 10,000 people 10, on your list.
Yep.
Okay. You send 2 emails a week. So you're sending, you have the potential to hit 20,000 impressions per week. Your open rates are 10%, again, for easy math. So,
yikes.
Right, that's really bad in today's terms, but it's just easy numbers here. So 10% of that would be 2,000. So you're getting 2,000 people to open every single day that you send. So if I get 2,000 that week, right, that's like my maximum output, right? And then we can talk about click rates and all that, but then the math goes, way deeper.
Yep.
But let's just say for fun that I still have 10,000 people and instead I send 6 times a week. So now my maximum potential is 60,000. Now my open rates are 20% instead of 10%. So 20% of 60,000, what, 12,000? So now I literally just 6x'd my potential just by sending more emails and having better open rates. So email is already this thing that, for the past 20 something years, people check it every day in a business context. And a lot of times in a personal context too, several times per day.
Yep.
And I was just able to 6x my impressions just by doing a couple simple things.
Yep.
And people just, the biggest thing that hangs people up, I'll tell you, is listening to the peanut gallery. So every time you send an email, in the same way if you post on social media, there's going to be people who respond back. Let me tell you a quick story. So one of my very first clients, back before I was just doing email, I was like doing anything and everything for a couple of clients. One of them, when he let me take over email completely and send the first broadcast, I go in the inbox, and this was going out to, at the time, I don't know, probably like 70-ish thousand people. I was so excited. I click send. The email goes out. First reply comes back in, said, F you. And I was like, oh no, like what did I do wrong? Like what's happening here? And I just realized over time, because the guy, Greg, that I was working for, and I'm so thankful for him. He gave me every opportunity in the world. And he came out of like the Bronx selling like bootleg t-shirts at Yankee Stadium. So he'd done that business and he'd gone online, and now he's doing really well, like selling like those neck gaiters during COVID and like printing on t-shirts, and dude's killing it. But he was like, hey man, this is just how business is. Like I used to sell outside Yankee Stadium. You don't think I heard anything worse than that? So I was like, okay, you're right. But I still see business owners do this all the time. We come in, or like whether it's us or them or whoever, they send out the first email and they get 2 people saying, you email too much, or like F you or whatever. And they think that everybody on their list thinks that way. And they're like, we got to stop. We got to stop. There's something wrong here. I'm like, well, that email made you $5,000. So like, like, who do you want to listen to? The silent majority who's just like, oh, this is cool. Click, buy. Or the people that are like, I want to write a long letter to you because I think you email me too much and it's super annoying. And I think everybody else is annoyed too.
Yeah.
Like, who do you want to listen to?
Yeah.
And just people think that, I mean, I do want to have just like a second of like empathy for business owners, right? It's like we're so nitty gritty and deep into our business.
Yeah.
We spend all this time, especially if you have a phase where you're like, okay, I really need to improve my email. So you start looking into it, and you're so deep in the weeds that you're like, okay, I used to be sending 2 and now I'm sending 5 or 7 per week or whatever. And you're thinking about it so much that you think your list thinks about it as much as you do, but it's not true. They're just literally like walking around, living their life, talking to their friends and family. They pull out their phone, they refresh it, and they look, and there's an email from you. And they're like, oh, cool, whatever.
Right.
They're not thinking about like, oh, this is the 7th time this week that Josh has emailed me. I'm going to send back an angry reply.
Dude, I think just in general, the best thing you can do is get thick skin. Like, dude, I learned that on social media. I mean, particularly during 2020, during my whole thing with politics or whatever. Oh my gosh, dude. Like I learned that one of my favorite quotes is, if you have a problem with me, call me.
Yeah.
Right. If
you
don't have my phone number, then you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good approach. I want to back up though to one of the things that you just said there, because you said, let's say I'm getting I'm sending 2 emails a week, I'm getting 10% open rates. And then you said, what if I went to 6 and I got 20% open rates?
Yeah.
I think most people would think that is backwards. You send more emails, you get more open rates?
Well, it depends. So you like technically, yeah, if your deliverability is great and you start sending more emails, there is the law of diminishing utility, right? Like it will go down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm talking from the perspective, let's say you have a spam or promotions tab issue and you fix that along with sending more emails.
Okay. Then so it's not just increasing the volume, but if you fix deliverability and things along with that,
That's why I tell people too, I'm like, if you double your open rates, you're not quite going to see a 2x in sales because obviously like over time, the open rates will drop a little, the clicks will drop a little, and the sales will drop a little. But overall, it's just like easy math to show. And after iOS 15, there's a lot of people too that it's hard to know what your exact open rates are. It's somewhere in between the number you see. And a lot of ESPs, they'll tell you like how many of them were Apple like false opens, and some of them were, some of them weren't. So it's somewhere in between those two. But a lot of people now with deliverability projects, it gets a little harder to sell because people are like, oh, I have 50% open rates. I'm like, you don't. And this has always been a thing. It's just that Apple is the biggest like inbox provider, like phone app, whatever you want to call it, with their mail app to do this. So it's always been a thing.
And explain that to people. For people that don't know what you're talking about, explain what you're talking about with this.
Sure. So like a lot of people listening probably know iOS 14 attacked ads, made them harder to track. iOS 15 did that to email. So
I actually don't think a lot of people know that.
Oh. Okay.
Which is crazy, right? Because like I thought for sure every entrepreneur knew that, right? Yeah. And then I like would go to events. I'd be like, well, yeah, when iOS 15 came out or whatever, like what happened? And I'm like, huh. So yeah,
that's the next topic. So I've learned a lot anyway, just about like the internet marketing world and then like the business world, which is much bigger.
Yeah.
But so iOS 15. Prior to that, well, still to this day. So basically, anytime you send a marketing email from an ESP, so an email service provider, the platform to send marketing emails, there's this little teeny tiny image in the email that you can't see. Now, when somebody opens the email, that image loads, and that's how they know, like, oh, okay, the image loaded. So we can mark that as an open because the only way that it possibly loaded is if somebody opened
it up. Yep.
So now what Apple's doing is every night, typically when you plug in your phone and go to bed, it goes through all the emails that you've received if you have this, the setting on for privacy. And it loads all the emails without you opening them. So basically every night your open rates are going to see this huge increase that didn't really happen. So it's tough to say exactly what your open rates are, but for everybody, they're higher than they actually are. So all these people, and Klaviyo's the biggest culprit. Like there's people that think they're getting like 60, 70% open rates on a regular broadcast. And they're like, we don't need service. I'm like, dude, like you're in the promotions tab right now. I promise you will make more money if you get out. But a lot of these people don't believe it. Yeah. And that's okay because like traditionally our best client anyway is somebody who's like done a little bit of homework on email and they believe that it works. And they're like, okay, I know I have a problem. Like how much is it to fix it? Whereas the other people that, I don't want to spend time convincing people they need help.
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts. So the way I view email is I look at it as a distribution channel, right? So I have a message and I have all of these different platforms essentially that I can go and I can put it out on, right? And I can distribute it to my followers, listeners, subscribers, whatever, right? Email to me, the pros and cons is if I put something out on YouTube or I put something out on Facebook or I put something out on Instagram or whatever, right? Small percentage of people are going to see it, yes, of my total followers. But I also have the ability to gain subscribers from it. I have the ability to increase the amount of people that are subscribing or following me because of it, right? Whereas email is one of the only channels where I send it out and I have no potential of me gaining on, and I mean, I can probably make offers or whatever. Oh, please refer people or whatever. But like as a general rule, right? However, because of that, I also get the added benefit of I actually get to own that. Right. So like there's the trade-offs here. Right. So what I look at email is as I go, email is the way that probably gives me, even though the tracking isn't perfect, right, but like gives me the best chance to deliver a message to my best type of customer, right, that someone's going to read it and engage with this. And so I look at it as that, as a distribution channel. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but I view it as my main distribution channel.
Okay, so that's where I'm going next.
Most serious people. So here's the other funny thing that I find about like setting volume that I forgot to mention is people will watch, like Gary Vee tell you to post 14 times a week on social media, maybe even more. So like, I know people who do that. It's like 3, 4, 5 times a day. And they have no problem doing that. If somebody comments, so I guess just a hater, dude, that means I'm growing. But then when it comes to email, they get one bad reply. And they think it's all over. And the crazy thing to me is like, sure, let's say your realistic open rates are somewhere like 20-something%, right? Like, go look at your posts and see what percentage of your followers actually saw your post. It's like 5%. If you're lucky. And yeah, if it's a reel, you can get incredible reach if you know what you're doing. And like, I've had reels that have gone viral, but I've kind of gone, more agency route lately because I realize that's where my heart is.
Really interesting. That's awesome.
I know it's the opposite of a lot of people with today's coaching industry, but I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but I know Jason Capital pretty well, and he helped me tremendously with content. And I love a lot of the stuff that he puts out. But social's cool. Like, you can get a lot of eyeballs, but it's just like you're just another.
No, I agree with that. So my next question is going one level deeper, with that, right? Which is, okay, so now I have to decide if I know that email is something I've got to maintain, just like everything else, right? I've got to put effort into it if I want it to be good. Now I have to decide how I'm going to use that distribution channel, right? And I look at this and I go, okay, well, I've got the podcast, right? So I could send emails being like, hey, new podcast episode out, right? I could do, just promotion and marketing, right? What's his name? The webinar guy, Anthony Morrison, right? Dude, I'm pretty sure it's like, you sign up for one of his webinars or whatever, and it's like 50 straight emails of just buy my stuff, right? Like, there is no, and I think I watched a clip from him one time. He's like, I build the relationship in the training, and then I follow, right? And so that's just like, it's a promotional vehicle, right? And so there's that. And then there's people that like, they use it as like their diary or their journal, right? And this is how they, essentially like a blog, right? Essentially. And, they've got these loyal raving fans of it or whatever, right? And like, I've struggled to know exactly what to use it for, right? And I've gone back and forth between, sometimes I'm like, I just need to write to my list, send, whatever happens type of deal, right? And then like, Kristen Rushman.
Heard of her.
Okay, you should know her. She's in the email, like big email stuff. She does a lot of stuff with Highlevel, with Clickfunnels, like with all that email deliverability. She has Email RX, and she's really cool. And she's gonna come on a podcast too, so We'll chat with her. But anyway, like, and she's like, Josh, you have to like message to market match. Like, people, like, they want to hear stuff from you, but like, you can't just wake up one day and be like, today we're supposed to talk about politics, and today we're talking about money. We're talking about, like, there's got to be some strategy here or whatever, right? And because I am like this real-time, I like real-time feedback, right? So like with social media, to me, I can literally go and I can click on who liked it, and I can look at their profile, and I can see who is engaging with it, and then I can see in the comment section, and I can look at other, like, I can actually see and have visual real-time feedback of like what's working, what's not, who's interacting or whatever. And to me, like, in how my brain works, like, that's so helpful. Right? And people are like, well, how do you know? I'm like, I literally will sit on my phone and click on every single person that liked one of my posts that engaged with, something about marketing or whatever, to see who engaged with it and like what type of stuff that they're into, right? Every one of them. And like, that's how I learn. And then there's email. And it's like, you got 22% open rates. And I'm like, this is not helpful. You know what I'm saying? So from a distribution channel perspective, right? And let's just start with me. Like, I've got a podcast and I produce content there, and we put it out on YouTube, and I've got some educational videos, and also it's me. So I have opinions, right, on things. And I sell stuff, but most of my stuff is to a training, not directly to a page, right? How should I think about my email marketing strategy? Cause like, quite frankly, at this point, I don't care. I just know I'm not doing it enough, and I'm not doing it correctly. And I texted, my team the other day, I'm like, this has to be our next asset, right? Email has to be like the next thing that we really focus on doing. How do you think about the actual content that you're going to be putting out there?
Yeah, that's good. And to be honest with you, man, like, I don't know much about Kristen, and if she panicked because you're just kind of like saying whatever comes to your mind, like, there is a place for that. No. But you also have to be organized. Like, I see what she's saying.
Okay,
let me give you my opinion on this. So, first of all, for the social media question, like, if somebody replies back or whatever, I can look at their domain, right? It tells me a lot about them, especially since I'm an agency. And a lot of the people, like, I see their names come up often, and you learn a little bit about them. But if you are a little more disconnected to it, here's how you can kind of figure this out. So if you look at Anthony Morrison, like you said, he builds the relationship with people on video. So they watch the video, and then he just tries to sell them right away because they've seen him on video. So the trust has been built. So it depends what you have on the front end. Is it a long video? And obviously not everybody's going to watch it. So like, it doesn't always mean you should sell to them right away. But if you have like a shorter opt-in, lead magnet, freebie, whatever.
That doesn't mean ongoing, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I got 10,000 people on my list.
Strategy.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
One step at a time.
All right.
I know you're excited.
Josh, shut up.
So they come into my world through those opportunities, right? Because at the end of the day, you're right. It's like, where is the one place on the internet that I go where I can consolidate all the people I need to talk to? For me, I think email is the easiest, but there isn't a single platform to put them all together.
Yeah.
But if I, put out things that my audience is likely interested in, let's say, you could have one lead magnet, or you could have 5, and some of them are maybe low ticket, whatever. How many ever you have, let's just say you're starting with 1. So that initial automation after they opt in is obviously going to try and go get them to consume the thing that they signed up for. I'm also in that sequence going to answer the frequently asked questions. I'm going to show them social proof. I'm going to tell them a little bit about me. And I'm just going to try to give them whatever information that I think they need in order to enter my realm and understand my world. But of course, in relation to them, because what's in it for me is the question that people always have, right? So I'm trying to relate to them and like have real structure.
Hold on. I think that was a very important thing that you said right there. You're always trying to answer the question of what's in it for me. Well, they're asking that.
Yes.
Right.
What's
so everything
in it
for them, right? They're asking that question. What's in it for me here? Right. Okay. That's good.
Okay. So that's how I'm doing it in that initial sequence of emails. So that's where I have a little bit of structure.
Okay.
And of course you can, add in upsells, whatever, typically that sequence is going to start at roughly like 5 emails of the ones that I just said. And then as time goes on, as you figure out what works and like what emails do really well for you, then you just add on to that sequence.
Okay.
Because like there's some people like,
all right, keep going.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's some clients that I've signed on and they have like a 60 email sequence and somebody opts in. I'm like, hey guys, is there any rhyme or reason for these 60? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, you should probably test and make sure that those convert before you put them all there and wasted all your time doing that. So anyway, after that initial sequence, I put people into what I call the broadcast pool, which is pretty much where I dump my brain and what I'm working on right now, new offers, thoughts that I have, even if it doesn't have to do with business. It could be something personal that I just want to share. So that's like kind of where your brain is based off what you said in that broadcast pool of like, here's Josh's brain and all the things I'm working on. And I'm just going to like dump it out there and like see who clings to it.
Yeah.
Where Kristen was coming in is probably more so in like the automation piece.
No, Kristen was just coming at it from the perspective of, Josh, you have no strategy. And I'm like, you are correct. Right. And she's like, you need a strategy. Right. And, Kristen's awesome. I mean, I'm sure she's tried to get me to sit down a million times to figure this out. Right. But I've just been too busy with it. But now I'm like actually paying attention to it. And so I'm curious, how you approach it. So, but
So that's the simplest way that I can say it is like they opt in, give them the thing that they wanted, answer their questions, show them social proof, and show them that you're like a human who actually cares. As time goes on, you'll figure out what emails to add to the end of it because based off of what's worked in the past, it'll work again. And after that, they're just in the pool where you can dump your brain.
Once they're in the pool, right? So I've got 10,000 people or 50,000 people or whatever. They're in this pool. Do you segment that list at all and be like hot or warm or like, hey, these are people that like, do you segment those at all? Or do they just all get added and that like, this is just your broadcast?
I mean, not really. So it just depends. Like if I'm pushing something and there's a group of people who already bought it, like I don't really want to bug them about it.
Yeah,
like sometimes, you forget to do that and like a current customer will get it and be like, this is a great email. Thanks. And it builds the relationship further, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's just like the only people I'm really excluding are people who have already bought it or people who are currently like in the sequences. And I want to keep them focused on, whatever it is that they're looking at right now.
Yeah.
And then, I have an automation that automatically removes people if they haven't opened an email in about 3 to 4 months. It kind of fluctuates. So basically, if your open rates are great, you can, extend that window. If your open rates are hurting a little, shorten it up. But I don't really do a lot of segmenting other than that. I think that it's kind of a waste of time for a lot of people because some of our clients too, they'll be like, hey, are we split testing this? I'm like, okay, in an automation, it makes sense to split test something. But in your daily broadcast, it's like you're sending every single day.
Yeah.
Like
is that what you do? Is every day you recommend?
We have different packages. But like I love sending every day. It's like if you have a lot of leads coming in, you should be sending every day. If you want to make a lot of money. Of course, there's diminishing returns, but they far outweigh the cost of
the segmenting. You don't really segment your list or split test. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that spend a lot of time like doing little nitty gritty split tests, and it's like, how is that going to be statistically significant if you change like 3 words in the subject line?
Do you think though that it changes if you're more of a personal brand? Like this approach is more for like a personal brand, like with a face, versus maybe like a company that's like has mass numbers of. If you're dealing with 500,000 people on an email list or 1 million people on an email list, right? And it's a company rather than like, someone I'm relating to per se. Like, do you think it changes then or no?
So I still stand by like in the automation, right? Like that is part of your funnel, right? Like you were saying with Russell, your funnel never ends. And whenever they leave the site and they come into their inbox, like that is part of the funnel, and you should split test that in that automation.
Yeah.
But let's say even if I have 1 million people on my email list and I send out, a new offer today with a certain angle, I can kind of tell based off of how that performed and like past performances, if this offer is going to work or if this angle is going to work. And if it doesn't work, I have tomorrow where I can send to the exact same people, give or take a couple people that left and a couple people that came in. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to spend your time doing all these nitty gritty things when I can just look at yesterday versus today versus tomorrow. And I can see clear differences. Like I want to test big things, man, like angles and offers and not just like a few words here or there, or like the color of this and that. It's kind of like funnels, right? So it's like, oh, well, I should be split testing because Russell said so. So I'm going to change the button from blue to green and see how it does.
So going back to something that I think was interesting when you were like, okay, you're showing what's in it for them, and you're pulling them into your world. You're answering top questions and things. That would lead me to believe, or that would imply that when someone's coming onto your email list, like they're entering into your world, and there actually has to be structure in your world, right? There actually has to be pieces of this, right? And it's funny because like if I were to go back to my early days of social media, like very much so, I had a structural procedural process of like around like all the different things. I'm like, you need these and this and this, and Facebook groups at the center, and like I could educate on that all day, right? And then like I had all these followers and a lot of influence or whatever, and I was broke. And I was like, well, this sucks. Let me go learn how to make money, right? And then I learned how to make money, and all that kind of went out the window because it was all like just like skills at that point, right? It was like learning framing and learning like all of this, and I just started selling high ticket. And so people were like, what's your world like? And I'm like, I don't know. I ask you what you want to buy, and then I figure out a way to sell you something that solves that problem, right? And so it like lacked structure for a while, but like I also made a lot more money. But then I reached this point where I couldn't, you couldn't build any higher, right? Because there was no structural foundation. And now we're here, we got the golden mic, obviously, right? And like with this process, and now we're way back to structure, right? And there's frameworks and there's processes, and like, so we can educate on that. But like for someone that is, they're at 6 figures, right? They've got this service or this skill. They're looking to scale with email. What structural pieces do they need to have in place, or like what things, like help me understand, like structurally what things you're referring to when you're talking about like inviting them into your world or educating them on where to go next? Like, what are you talking about with that?
Yeah, so you kind of answered it right there, but like the biggest thing that makes somebody not a good fit for what we do is not having the first step figured out, right? So like that foundation, because email is just going to amplify the current state of your business. So if you don't have a foundation, you can send emails, everybody's going to be confused and like not really understand. But if you have everything figured out, then it just makes more sense to people. So for example, if I look at myself, here's kind of the plan. So like in the past, we've just had email list management. So people would come into my world and we would just basically send them different pieces of content that have to do with like testimonials or cool things that we've tried, or just like different things in the email world for the people that are like a little bit nerdy and they're thinking about getting into it, either from Done For You or our training program. So we would just kind of like mention some of those things. And then me as, the owner, and I've stepped back a little bit. I'm not in it as much as I was. And it's, it's the goal of an agency, right? You can exit one day, but I still throw in my opinions because it's really important to be a personality. And there wasn't much strategy beyond that. But now like I can see the whole vision, right? So like I bought emailmarketing.com. Hopefully that goes through. But even if it doesn't, that's okay. We'll just go under the current name. Building a new site where we have all of our offers. So if I'm always under the opinion that if it's not clear to you, it's not going to be clear to anybody else.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, most people don't have a lot of clarity. Even very, very successful people, there's always something new. But with me, I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, at least with like the main things that we're going to offer. So it's like we have email list management.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, actually walk through the structure of what you got. Yeah.
So it's warm email, right? What we've realized is the way the economy is shifting right now, like for a lot of people, like people who are well off in business and like know what they're doing, like they'll buy that, right? But in like 2022, there was a lot of people that were just like, yeah, I don't feel like I have a lot figured out right now, but you guys are cool. Like I'll just buy it anyway because things are going great right now. 2024, like we haven't seen like a massive like dip in the overall economy, but like I can sense it, by the way, when I talk to my sales team and they're like, yeah, there's just not a lot of people that are willing to like just give it a try, right? It's just the people that know they need it. So it's like, okay, we've shifted to cold email as well. And like, oh my gosh, since last September, I've been building out this entire like software and platform. I'm super excited to talk about it. But anyway, cold email is something that a much wider pool of people need because it's leads. It's like,
when you say cold email, like you were offering email list management as you would maintain and manage a email list that someone already had.
Yes.
Right. And cold email is now you're going to go send cold emails.
Yes.
Right, and grow the list essentially.
Well, not necessarily growing the list, but booking calls. Right. Okay, so like technically you are growing the list, but if I send you a cold email, I don't want to waste my time like saying, hey, go get this free thing when I could book you on a call.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So if you do cold email the right way, because believe me, 90% of them suck.
Yep.
Absolutely horrible.
Probably more than that, honestly.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because I get probably like an average of 3 a day, and I probably save like 1 a month. That's like, wow, that was creative.
Yeah.
That was good. But so we're offering warm, we're offering cold. So it's like both types of people. We also have an email list growth service. So basically somebody visits your website, they don't finish opting in. If they spend at least 30 seconds on your site, we can compliantly add them to your list. At least, if they're from the United States, we can add them. So that's another
How
service.
do you know their email?
So basically we're in this partner network. It's like a data partner network. So for example, one of the companies in it is the New York Times. So let's say somebody opts in on the New York Times website. When you opt in for their site, in their terms, it says, hey, you opted in for us and all of our partners as well if you visit their site. So basically their data is saved in the partner network. So if I add the right script to my site and that same person visits, it's like, oh, we recognize that person because they visited New York Times and they just visited emailparamedic.com. So now we can add them too. So it's kind of like a lukewarm lead.
Is awesome, but so many people listening are going to be like, what?
Yeah, it's still a very new thing to a lot of people. There's a few companies that do it, but we're the only one that has like a fully like done for you service. Most people are like, yeah, here you go, add this to your site and your list will start growing. And they're like, well, where do they go? How do we make sure our deliverability doesn't get wrecked? How do we convert them? Like we take care of all that. So I'm really excited about that. So those are like our 3 main B2B offers. And of course we have our email list management certification program. And then we're also playing with like funnel, like CRO and optimization for some of our existing clients. It's not really like a front end thing, but basically like I can see the vision of how this whole structure is built in my business. Yeah. And it's whiteboarded now. It's on my computer. It's all over. Now we need to get it onto like a nicer website rather than just having funnels for everything. I like want one hub.
Yep.
And then the strategy for me is like, okay, I'm going to talk about one of the offers for about a week. Because if you just send one email about it, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, that, that was good, but I still have a couple questions. Yep. And you can address those for the rest of the week. Yeah. You'll get the most bookings or sales from the first email and the last email. Anytime you do any kind of launch or talk about it. So
it's like 90% of the sales, I feel like, come from those. Yeah.
So in a normal time where I'm not launching anything, typically it would be like, all right, I'm going to talk about warm list management for a week. And then for a week, I'm just going to like share my opinion on some cool things, like build trust. Yep. And I'm going to talk about cold email for a week. And I'm going to go back to talking about whatever for a week. And just kind of like cycle it that way and build the structure. It's never going to be exactly that.
Yeah, right.
But that's like how I can see in my business where it gets clear to me, then it gets clear in public on a website, and it gets clearly relayed to the people who follow me.
That makes sense. You have one company that does all this?
When I started my company, I named it Lead Paramedic because we revive dead leads.
Yep.
Paramedic. And then I realized that email paramedic probably made a little more sense. So I went with that. And then I was thinking, you know, if emailmarketing.com doesn't, if I can't acquire that for some reason, then it's like, well, I have ad paramedic or, you know, whatever paramedic. And we can, you know, content paramedic. We could get into just about anything. But still, I believe that anybody can be email, whatever. But emailmarketing.com, like.
But it'll be the brand that does all of this. These aren't separate companies per se. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Are you willing to share like what you do in revenue?
Yeah, we did 2.5 million last year.
2.5 million. So you're at that point, and what's your next target? 10?
That's a good question. Because I still I don't know if this is like if other people feel this way, but there's a lot of people that are like, okay, well, you need to have like a clear plan where you hit 2.5 and then 5 and then 10 and so on.
Yeah.
And you need to have like a 1, 5, and 10 year map and all this. But like as an entrepreneur, you know that changes.
Yeah.
Like every month, if not every week. I once heard there's this other guy in 100 Million Mastermind, Brandon Brittingham. He posted on Facebook. It went somewhat viral. He posted again. He's like, if you don't think about burning it all down and going back to McDonald's at least once a week, you're not entrepreneuring enough.
Yep. Mine's not McDonald's. Mine's I'm going to peace out to an island because my wife's an island girl, right? So we're going to peace out to an island, live in a hut, smoke weed, and do yoga all day. That's the...
So it's just like things change so fast. And I think it's kind of a waste of time, more or less, to like I know where I want to be and I know like the goals that I want to hit in order to exit.
Yeah.
But that in between phase, like for the next like several weeks or like maybe a couple of months, I can kind of see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I know where I want to get, but like everything in between is like, I don't want to spend a lot of time writing it down when I know it can change.
No, yeah, for sure. But I just meant like, you're at 2.5 million. Like, is this like, okay, cool, we've peaked at this and we're going to just kind of maintain this. I'm going to go start something new, or this is still the focus to continue to scale this? Yes.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned for warm email, like it's a little more difficult right now because people don't just throw out money and say like, hey, I want to try this. Like there's a lot of people who are confident we can get them great results, but they don't believe in themselves. Yeah. And sure, there's ways you can remedy that, but the main way is having another offer, right? Yep. So cold email is much more broad and people view it as lead gen. Yeah. People always want leads. People always want to get more people
literally
on the list,
forever and always and forever will. Yeah.
So it's like if you add on that additional offer in times like these, that's what helps you grow further. So it's like you see there's a cap, you add a broader offer, all of a sudden your cap goes way up. So that's like what we're working on right now. Yeah. And then like list growth, we launched that internally and it's gone pretty well. I'm considering running ads to that as well. I'm just not sure if I should do cold first or that, but I think I want to finally like finish the beta round we're in with the cold email software, and then launch it officially, compare the two offers and figure out which one to run traffic to first. But that's like how I think about it as far as like what numbers we could hit. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like you said you were excited to talk about the cold email stuff more. And I also know that you bought, it was email, what was the software you bought?
Mail Genius.
Yeah, which by the way, I used that and then I found out you bought it. I was like, that's awesome. Talk to me about that. Like what went into that and what does that do? Cause I think, I think a lot more people use your stuff than they probably realize, right? Like a lot more, right? Even more mainstream. And we'll talk about business versus the internet marketing bubble here in a second, but like, what went into buying that? And then is that your cold outreach stuff? Where does that interact?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my business partner on that one, he has a third of it. I have 2/3. Jesse Hernandez. He's been relatively quiet online. But
those are probably the best partners though.
Yeah. The connections that he has in like the corporate field, like, you know what I was talking about earlier? Like there's the internet marketing bubble and then there's business. He has like, he knows the CEO, Smart Lead, and like so many other like massive companies. Cause him and 2 other business partners that I bought out, like started Mail Genius from nothing in like 2019-ish.
Really? Is
like,
that new?
Yeah. There's like massive corporations that are using this every single day. We get about 300 to 400 like brand new people using it every single day. And a lot of them are like from the corporate world. So they all come in and basically what they're doing is they're Googling like email spam tests because they're having some kind of issue. So then what Mail Genius does is you go to the site and there's this email address on the screen. All you got to do is send an email to it, click the button, and it shows you everything that's wrong with the email.
That's genius.
Yeah. Mail Genius.
Yeah. Ha.
It's actually,
I love marketing.
It's interesting too, because I was like, man, why isn't this called email genius? I thought that for the longest time, but like mail is the corporate word for email. So it's like, it all kind of comes full circle at some point.
Yeah.
So all these people are running tests for the longest time. It was just a completely free software. It's now freemium since I came in and invested a lot into
smart,
it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, man, SaaS is hard. Like to get that thing profitable on the SaaS side is very challenging.
Yeah.
For me to learn that all the people using it are not like internet marketers took a very long time. and we're finally booking like high quality calls now with like very large and mid-sized corporations who are like buying our services now. So like it took over a year for me to like figure out the audience, and it took a long time to make any money off like the software component at all. So like the game is hard.
What was the big difference?
I mean, obviously, before you buy something, you try to have a vision that the previous owner didn't have, because they either don't know how to do that or didn't think of it, or they are just like, I'm done with this thing.
Yeah.
So the two guys that exited, they were just done with it. There was, disagreements, whatever, and attorneys, and like that's all done with. And it's like, all right, it's in me and Jesse's hands, and we just want to take it at this point and turn it into the freemium that it never was.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of thinking and thoughts and testing things. And it's like, it takes a long time for all that to come together.
Yeah, but like from a corporate audience versus like an internet marketing audience, like what were the biggest communication differences and like things like that? Because I've worked with a couple people that like we sold to the corporate audience, and talk about a reality wake up call.
Obviously, you have to be a lot more formal, but just the way that you speak about things and present yourself and like the terminology that they use, right? So like my biggest wake up call is that email list management in the internet marketing bubble, a lot of people know what that is now. You're welcome. But if I say that to somebody who booked a call after finding me on Google, they don't care who I am. They don't care at all. And it's like, it's kind of reassuring in a way. Like at first it's an ego hit, but then you're like, you know what? Like this world is so big and there's like so much opportunity. If I do something good or I make a mistake, like people don't care. They move on with their lives in 5 minutes because at the end of the day, they think about themselves and the people close to them. We all do that. It's okay. So they have no idea who I am or what I do or what email list management means. And I realize that saying that word to them just confuses them further. So what we've done lately is we just have on the left side panel. So obviously there's the software and then there's like the freemium upgrade. On the left side, there's a whole like panel of extra things they can do. The first one, of course, is to book a like email consultation. So in like previously, I would say like demo or, a lot of people in internet marketing strategy sessions. But these people, they're like, I need a consultation. So they like that wording, and then just letting them fill out the calendar or the application before the calendar and just calling it like an email marketing consult, right? And then as they click what they need help with, that's what the call becomes about. And we just like whatever they need, we're like, perfect. That's our email marketing service.
Yeah.
Whatever they say, we can pretty much help with. Like there's not really many situations where we can't help them. Like if they don't need help, we'll tell them, be like, hey, it's not a great fit. But if they have a problem, we can help with literally just about anything. So just call it the email marketing service and sell it to them. Make sure they use the exact terminology that they use. Understand that it's probably going to be a 2-call close. Understand that like people aren't always lying about the decision maker.
Yeah.
And
particularly in corporate.
Like you have to, you can't be like, hey, what's up, bro? Like it's not that. Like even this Bitcoin thing on the wall here would probably really scare them and confuse them if you just have something that looks like an office. Yeah, so it's been quite the curve for sure. But yeah, like I'm so happy that I've learned about it. Like on the software side, it's definitely like it's gonna take a long time to get back to even. But on the like booking calls and actually closing agency deals from the software, we're like really close to completely figuring it out. Like very close. It's taken a long time. And I'm very excited.
I want to shift gears, but before I do that, I want to talk about the thing you said you were excited about, which was like this cold email and the stuff that you're doing there. Talk to me about that, and then I want to shift gears to how your brain works for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem why cold email sucks is obviously, and aside from copy, right? Like most people, like copy's hard. It's a skill. It takes a long time to learn. But even if you're a good writer, like the biggest thing that Jason Capital taught me is status matters more than anything else.
Anything else. I try to beat this into my clients. I'm like, you don't understand. It's all that. Yeah, 100%.
Now, with cold email, even if I write good copy, I'm getting a list of people from God knows where.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the offer isn't relevant. It's not even the same. Like I get emails a lot of times because I have the word paramedic in my domain for like the medical industry.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense to me. Even when they are about internet marketing, it's just so irrelevant. It makes no sense. So it's like the leads suck because they're just pulled from anywhere.
Yep.
And you're coming from a low status position. You're emailing a random person and like, please buy this for me.
It's like the worst, but yeah.
So here's what I did. I got really tired of it because I've hired a couple different people to help me with cold email. One of them was horrible. The guy I'm working with currently to kind of like test against mine, like he's good, he's responsive, but I just don't see his method beating what I'm doing right now. So in the first month that we beta tested this for ourselves, we made 21 grand just off cold email, sending maybe like 140 a day. Like that was it.
Wow. And how much were on the offer?
So, well, it kind of shifts and molds, right? But typically about $3,000.
Okay, cool.
Because we're kind of using the same strategy, right? It's like figure out what they need, sell it to them.
Yeah.
But that was just in 30 days. So we had to take some time off to like have the dev fix some things that were not going great with it, pull in some other beta testers.
Yeah.
One of them recently closed like 2 deals in the same day and he was stoked. And this is just like a solopreneur.
Yeah.
So like right now we're really ramping up. But here's the thing, why it's so different, why it's amazing. So the thing is, if you're emailing people from a low status position, you're never going to have the authority.
Yep.
And your list is never going to be accurate when using traditional cold email. So what I did is I was like, okay, I've always used this strategy like manually where I go and I opt in for people's websites and then send them like a quick Loom video telling them how I can help. And since I've been a solopreneur, it's worked incredible. So I was like,
that's one of the few times when I get those. Like, I think I've responded to probably 2, maybe 3 cold emails in my entire life. Right.
Yeah.
But that was one of them for sure.
Yeah. But even when people ask me a question, if I just make them a simple Loom video, because I went to the domain, opted in, got an email from them and showed them how I can help, it works great. Yeah. So I was like, what if I could automate that to go out to hundreds or thousands of people per day? And I thought for the longest time, like I don't know. But here's what I did. So I worked with a developer. I built a bot. So basically I can go to a certain site that I won't mention where I get my leads from. And I can find pretty much anybody that I want to find who lives in a certain location, uses a specific platform to run their business, and has like a certain word in their domain or like certain quality. I can pull this list of leads, which is very accurate because these are like, it's constantly updated every single day. It's not somebody on Fiverr who just went out and grabbed it. Mm-hmm. So I can pull this list of leads. And what it does is it spits back their website. So I can pull up a list of anybody, for example, who uses like Clickfunnels. So I can pull a list of everybody who uses Clickfunnels, has a .com and lives in the United States. Wow. And it's accurate as of like this week. So then what I'm going to do, or what I have done, is I have this bot that goes to all the websites one by one and opts in to their email list using a specific address. Then they send me an email, an automated email, right? It comes into my inbox. And then my inbox automatically replies to their email and says like, hey, so-and-so, I'm on your email list. I realize that your email landed in the promotions tab. Typically, we can help people increase open rates 12 to 15%. Would you be open to a short call where I show you results and how it works? And we can send it based on where the email lands. Does it go to promo, spam, whatever? If it goes to primary, we can pitch them a different offer. But basically, if you have
It does a video with this or just types back over?
Well, I tested it with video first.
Like an AI video or something?
We could get there.
Yeah.
But at first I was just sending like a blanketed video and we booked calls from it and it worked. But now we're just asking people straight up to get on a call because we find that they're more serious and it takes less time to actually get them on.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're doing cold anyway, it's like you might as well just go for the kill.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it worth it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's incredible. It's like we have this list of people that we know for sure that they're in this certain market.
Right. You basically are paying for data.
Yeah. So like, I'm paying, every single month for data.
Right. Yeah.
And I can go get as much as I want at any time. So yeah, I take this list of leads. Yep. I have the bot go opt in for all their websites. They email me and now I know the exact platforms they use. So for example, let's use somebody who's not me. Let's talk about you. You could pick any podcast platform, find a list of websites who use that platform, get on their email list and be like, hey, so-and-so, this is Josh. I've been on your list for a little while and I figured that we should be on a podcast together, whatever you want to tell them. And like, you already know they have a podcast too. And like, you already know so much about them.
Yeah.
And you're replying, like they don't often get replies to their marketing emails.
Yeah.
They're actually good. Cold emails are just random, sporadic. And like, this is a complete game changer. I'm building out the software right now. It's not like a interface for people to log in yet. It'll start as just a done for you.
Yeah. That's super cool. And you're not giving out the name of the website because you don't want everybody to go and do it, or because it's private, or because why?
If I said it too, it's like, you don't have access to my software, but for now I'm just trying to keep it low key because I'm trying to like patent pending and like everything. You know.
No, but that makes so much sense, because you're right. Number one, people don't often get replied to, right? To, if someone opts in or whatever. But the fact that you can like target specific specific types of domains or specific types of people or things like that and customize it, like, yeah, that's cool.
Well, I just got an update from the dev yesterday for like a newer version that allows me to run like, 5 accounts on the same server as opposed to 1. So I'm super stoked about that. And that's been our biggest bottleneck. Yeah. So like as soon as I go home, I'm playing with it again. But like I've run it for myself. I've run it for a beta tester. And now I'm like, trying to open it up to.
Are these like, are you building software from scratch, or are they like how does it work?
I'll just explain it this way.
Yeah.
If you know what you want to do, there's somebody who can help build it with you.
Yeah.
And so I'm really good at understanding how people think and the path that they take, which is essentially a funnel.
Yeah.
And knowing like how they think, like putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and really actually understanding how they think is like the number one skill. So I'm good at that. And if I can do that, and I have somebody who knows how to like actually code it and create it, that's all you need to be really successful.
But like, is it like your software though?
Yes.
Okay. So like you actually own the software.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because like, dude, then you got like Highlevel coming out and it's like white labeled, and that changed like, dude, that changed the game.
Oh,
like
I see what you mean. But I thought you were talking like at a deeper. So here's the thing. I thought that was like a deep business question, right? Like, do you own it, or does the dev own it? Or like, what is the equity stake here? Like, like those kind of questions. But Highlevel, I like that. And we could talk about that too.
Yeah.
But Highlevel has ruined the word software, because when I say that, people don't take it seriously. Like I built this thing, like it's so good. And people are like, are you white labeling? I'm like, what? Yeah. What of what I just said can GHL do?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Software used to be this big complex thing back in the day, right? And then, people came along like a Clickfunnels or whatever, and then they built software that allowed you to use software to like, so you could have websites or you could have tools and things on it. And then Highlevel came along and went one level deeper, which is like, now you can have your own software. What happened there is it made it seem like software was accessible to everybody, right? And like anybody could just go and develop a software. But then there are people out there that like legitimately develop softwares, right? But I'm like, I don't know the difference. Like I know like one is theirs and one is this one, but I'm like, are you borrowing? And then like the new Zappy Chat, have you seen that? The Zappy Chat bots or whatever?
Zapier?
No, Zappy Chat.
I don't know.
So this is like an AI bot that you like stick on your funnel, and it's actually wild, dude. Like it will read, like someone asks them a question, it will like you load it with data, and it will read all of the data like from your funnels or your questions or whatever. Like you can all these points of data, and it will formulate like responses in real time, and like you can like train it or whatever. But like that like rides on top of like, it's a white level of that rides on Highlevel. That's a white label of this. I'm just like, this is so confusing, right? I'm just like,
okay. So I have an honest question. So I'm pretty new to the GHL train. So I got on like last July was the first time I touched it, because my buddy Jason Woj was like, hey dude, you run an agency.
Yeah.
You should be using this. And I started off with like, okay, I just want my sales team to use this instead of Calendly, and like have a real CRM instead of the Active Campaign CRM, which is trash. And it's like reducing the tech stack, and it's cheaper somehow.
Yeah.
Side note, I really hate when people like move softwares just to save like $25 a month or whatever. It irritates me beyond belief. But it's like Go Highlevel has all those things and it's cheaper. I was like, all right, this is a no brainer. So I move over there. And I love the CRM. I love the texting capabilities too. It's like way better really nice, than everything I had. But this whole like, I understand that people will like build an agency and like white label services and all that, but the whole software component, I actually don't understand like what piece of it is software, because I'm so new to that world. Like, what is the white label software? Is it people just saying like, oh, hey, I have a CRM you can use, and they're white labeling it?
No, because there's a funnel builder on there, which, side note, ClickFunnels is suing Highlevel due to that, which everyone's like, oh, this is I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they definitely ripped off ClickFunnels, right? And once again, I am not unbiased here, right?
Yeah.
But, but like Highlevel is, Like, so basically I have my account, like there's the agency level if you sign up for the agency level. And so I have this agency account and I have all of these sub accounts underneath it. But if I want to use it for myself, I just am a sub account, right? Of the agency.
That's what I do.
Right. So then what people do is they go and they're like, hey, I'm going to turn around and resell the sub account, access to the sub account. So I'll create you a sub account. I'm going to charge you $97 a month for it. Right. But because you're under my agency account, I can bill you for it, but I can get in there and I can preload it with things. So I can preload it with automations or sequences or funnels or like things of that nature. And so people go and then they take it and then they put their own name on it because you can put a different name or a different logo or whatever. And they turn around and they're like, we have a software now.
Well, but that's the thing that like, I don't know if people are that gullible, but when I think of software, I think of like something that has like a unique function to it that like solves a specific problem. Whereas like white labeling Go High Level is like, here's my own CRM, my own, but you're just white labeling a CRM. Like, is it really software?
Well, I mean, CRM software.
Yeah, technically, yes, but like there's
so you have a funnel builder, you have
so many of
emails
them.
Provider, and the CRM portion of it. You have texting, and you've got all the forms and calendar and all that. So it's this all-in-one business builder, right? That you get to now turn around and resell. And like from a business model perspective, for like rapid growth, brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant, right?
Seriously.
But then you have ClickFunnels, which does not do that, right? So ClickFunnels is like, hey, it's our thing, and you can be an affiliate for it, but you're going to say it's ClickFunnels, right? Like it's our thing. And they're two completely different business models, right? But what I feel like what that did is, number one, it popularized everybody having a software, which you're right. It devalued real software people, right? But then when other companies started like Zappy Chat and things like that, like they started seeing this model and they started copying it.
Oh yeah.
And it's a brilliant business model in the internet marketing bubble, right? Like in that world. But because that world is getting so much bigger, right? Like it works. Right. And yeah, we could battle back and forth about high level. I have my thoughts. But,
I do want to turn the tables really quick and just hear your opinion, because since I've seen this, pretty much every post I've seen on the internet is on the side of Go High Level.
Yeah.
And like, I like Russell, like he's cool. Like I like ClickFunnels, I got a couple plaques and all that, but it's like that. It's like I've achieved those. And now I kind of want to go to Go High Level because it's like, it's cheaper. It can do everything else. And I don't know. I have like 297 on ClickFunnels, 97 GHL, and frankly, I don't see any reason to upgrade. Nonetheless,
whatever. Yeah.
It's like I use it and it's cool. And like, if I'm not trying to get more plaques on my wall, like why not just go to Go High Level? It's like there's so many other different platforms that build funnels. I don't see how they can file suit against just another funnel builder. So like, what is it specifically that they're being sued for? Because frankly, the other thing that people make fun of is it's like they invented funnel hacking and they get mad when somebody is like hacking, but like, are they really hacking if there's so many funnel builders out there?
Well, so I actually read the lawsuit. Like I actually read the thing, and I think it's two, if I remember correctly, it's 2 patents that they're suing around, but it's specifically around the funnel builder aspect of it. And like, have you used the funnel builder on High Level?
A little bit.
Okay. It's like, bro, it's a knockoff.
You can copy straight from ClickFunnels. Right. I thought that was hilarious, like in a way.
But like the actual builder itself, like a lot of the code and a lot of the things was like pretty darn similar to ClickFunnels, right? So they're suing over that, the patent infringement on that. Whether or not other funnel builders, right, are using a similar code, I don't know the specific details of that. I personally think it's probably like most funnel builders just don't have there's not enough momentum. Like it's not worth their time to go after them, and High Level is. Like I'm ClickFunnels die, right? Like I'm on that. And by the way, I use High Level for email, but not for funnels. But only because when I went to Kristen and I was like, she's like, what are you using for emails? And I'm like, Active Campaign. She's like, ew, no. And I'm like,
really?
Yeah. And so I didn't know any better, right? So that's what we were using. And then she's like, no, get off of there. Control I don't even know the terms. Like control your reputation score and domain. I don't know what it was, but like, she's like, do this. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I will not go to High Level. That is the devil, right? Like they are. And she's like, please, for the love of God. And I'm like, no. And then Dan Henry, I hired him and he's like, bro, get on High Level for emails. Like, you don't have to use it for funnels or whatever. And so I was like, fine, I'll just listen to you guys. And by the way, I do like the CRM feature of it. We use that for, scheduling, whatever, but like over my dead body while I build funnels on High Level, right? I will burn my business to the ground before that happens. So I use ClickFunnels for funnels. Where I think High Level messed up, and Gustin, Gustin, son?
Yeah.
Good friend of mine, right? So, and he jumped from, he was like the number 2 affiliate of 2.0 launch and like built funnels for Russell, like that, jumped to High Level, right? Where I think High Level went wrong, particularly the people that sell or market High Level, is they act like it is the same thing as ClickFunnels. And I'm like, I got on High Level and started playing around with it. And I'm like, they're not even the same thing, right? Like ClickFunnels is a funnel builder, right? And I love ClickFunnels, and people talk, oh, ClickFunnels is this. I'm like, once you know it, like you know it, right? And I love that for funnel builders. And then I go to High Level and I'm like, why did you even need the funnel builder? I mean, like, cool, I get it, it's or whatever, but I'm like, it's so many other things besides ClickFunnels, right? And so I have no problem with ClickFunnels suing High Level. I have no problem with High Level suing back. Like, I'm like, this is business, it's patents or whatever. Like, this is your billion-dollar companies going after each other. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah, it's interesting too, because the take that I'm seeing from people is obviously they're making fun of the funnel hacker angle and then getting mad that they got hacked, but it's also people are just like seeing the tide shift, at least in their opinion, right? It's like 2.0, complete flop.
Yeah.
Horrible. I put a lot of faith in that.
Yeah.
Got right out.
Yep.
And then it's like all these people are coming over to JHL because of that viral strategy. And it's is ClickFunnels losing momentum? It's what a lot of people are wondering, and they're suing because they're upset about it.
Right. And so I think that is why the lawsuit's an issue, right? Is because Russell, the platform's open. Right here, 2-3 hours, bro. All right. Like anytime you want. Right. And like, I've told Russell this, and like, I would love to sit down and break down what happened over the last couple of years. Right. Cause you're right. 2.0, I think it's a lot better now. I think it's actually pretty awesome right now. There's still some things they got to work out, but like, yeah.
What got better? Just so I know.
It got way better.
Did it?
2.0. Yeah. Like in the last couple months. Okay. Like
I'll check it out.
Still has some things that they got to work through for sure. But like new people coming in that have never even heard of Classic, love it, right? But there was definitely a time they announced it too early. There were things that went wrong, right? Like overpromise, underdeliver, which was very uncharacteristic. Then I mean, if you look at it, go on a personal side though, like Dave Woodward, who was the CEO of that company. I mean, ran it. He died, right? I mean, got a brain tumor. Russell, as one of Russell's best friends, right? There's a lot of things that happened, and I think what the world saw with ClickFunnels is they had all this crazy momentum, right? 0 to 100 million, and then on and going, almost $1 billion valuation or whatever it was, and then 2.0 the future, and then nothing, right? And there was this like lack of momentum, and it was never addressed, right? And it was, all you see is people leaving. You don't see anybody stepping up to, to support it, to stay. I'm still with it, outside of, I mean, me, right? But like, I've taken heat for it, right? But because of that, now Russell, I mean, in the last like month has been like, okay, I'm coming back. I'm ready to go. And like, I've had conversations with him about this. He's like, we're ready to go now. Right. And I'm like, cool. And the first move you make is to sue your competitor. Right. And I'm like, that does seem, I get it. I understand why someone could look at that and go, okay, ClickFunnels feels threatened here. They're losing all this business to High Level. They're going to try to sue them to shut them down or like whatever. It looks bad. I get it. Someone said it really well. They said High Level is a bunch of like software and developer like nerds that are learning marketing, and ClickFunnels is like a bunch of marketing nerds that are learning software.
That's
right?
good.
And it is,
That's
right?
true.
And I think it really is. And so for me, when I look at the thing as a whole, I go, well, look at what ClickFunnels really is. I mean, yes, they're a software company, but look at the education around it. Like, look at what Russell's providing and teaching around this. And they'll swear, oh, we're not an education company, we're a software company. And I'm like, whatever you want to call yourself.
It affects the multiples.
Right?
So that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Right. And I know for sure. But when I look at this as a whole, I go, okay, maybe ClickFunnels lost some momentum, maybe, right? And one could make that argument. One could also argue they hit a cap on the internet marketing capacity and they're trying to go into a bigger market and pulling Russell out from it. I don't know, right? But when I look at it as a whole, I go, what a lot of people accused ClickFunnels of being this like scammy, hacky kind of like thing. I feel like High Level is just doing the same thing in a completely different way. And they're riding their momentum train, and they're not to the point where ClickFunnels is at. And even now there's, you know what I mean? Like,
I like what you said, because we were just talking about, like the internet marketing versus corporate world.
Yeah.
That is a very good distinction, because the corporate world, anytime you mention like making money or like basically being like Russell, they think it's a scam.
Yeah.
And there is a big limit on your ability to scale when you're just stuck in internet marketing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's a really good insight.
I don't know this, right? Russell's not told this to me or whatever, but I'm like, you look at ClickFunnels Classic and Russell's face was completely interchangeable with that. Like there was no difference, right? And so when that's all on him, and then you go through the things that he went through with, Dave and all the different things, like that's going to take a toll. And I seem to, in what I'm observing, to see a big shift away from Russell in 2.0, right? And so I think that when that happens and when you go through those growth pains and things of that nature, like I think that you're going to make mistakes along the way, right? And so I think we like to look at things in the moment because drama sells and it's marketing and, you know, all of the things. But like anyone that thinks that high level has the moral high ground somehow, I'm like, yo, this is business, right? They just have they have a better affiliate. Really, they have a better affiliate offer, right? They have a better affiliate offer and they're more communicative with what they're doing and actually delivering than ClickFunnels is right now.
But here's and like, I think what it comes down to is like, they just needed more patience. It's like that simple, like before they launched 2.0.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I can feel what Russell's going through a little bit, because there's a certain point where like, people are rooting you on. But when you hit that certain point and you're doing X amount better than everybody else, they don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
And I've seen that on a smaller scale with a lot of people. It's like, there's a lot of people who learned a lot from me, and then they come back and then they like, you know, kind of crap on the things that they learned, and just like way bigger proportions at ClickFunnels.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's sad, but people just do that.
Yeah, it is. It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. You know, if there's one thing I've learned, it's I like to bet on people, right? Relationships to me are far more important than anything else at this point. And so to everyone that, you know, jumped the gun from ClickFunnels because, you know, of a year or a year and a half hiccup, and I get it, you know,
or a
like
wrestling incident, or, you know, has nothing to do.
Yeah, what the frick? Right. But like, and even before that though, right? Like all of that, I just look at it and I go, if that's all you took from the community, it's probably better than you're on anyway, right? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And like, I think the future is very bright for ClickFunnels. I think that they will figure things out, right? And I think that as they continue to go more mainstream, but I don't have hate for high level, right? Like I have hate for high level because it's fun marketing and drama, right? And I will, like I said, over my dead body, like that is true. Like I will not build funnels on there, right? Because I am loyal to ClickFunnels, but at the same time, I'm also like, hey, like guys, you came up with a brilliant affiliate strategy with the white labeling of the software, right? You delivered well. You used overseas, devs to keep costs cheap. You raised money. Like you did the right things. You pulled influencers. You attacked the giant, and great job, right? Like so, I've got no hate from a business strategy from them. If you infringed on the patent that ClickFunnels had, great. I hope they sue you and clean your house. And if you didn't, I hope that you win, right? Like that's business. But I think people are too much in the drama of like he said, she said, or this thing, and they're just not zoomed out enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. I like that perspective too, because I know a few people that work at ClickFunnels, and I know one of the original founders of GHL, Rob Bailey, and like they're all great, and it's business.
Yeah, it is. It is. I want to shift into kind of how, like your brain for a little bit, and how you think about things and success round you out as a person a little bit more, but particularly in the mindset thing. Because the golden mic, it's having a platform to have these conversations.
All right.
So you've had a fair amount of success in your life, I would say more than the average person, certainly in the world, but even in America, right? Yet also it's not like you're running $1 billion company, right? So it's like there's a lot to grow, and yes, you might, we might be up here. And so I'm curious, like what drives you, and what is it that you're trying to build just even from a non-specifics perspective of, I want email specifically. Okay, cool. Right. But like, are you like you love building companies, you find it fulfilling in that? Because one of the things so I'm pretty good friends with Dan Henry, right? And I've hired him or whatever. It's funny. Last night, he just moved to Dubai, and they're having like issues with transferring stuff over there. And he was like freaking out with his bank account or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this Dan Henry desperate and poor? Right? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. But he said something that was interesting is he goes, I tried to build a real business, and then I realized it was way easier to make money just selling BizUp, right? And like, I think a lot of people will hate on him for that, right? But I'm like, if that's all you wanted, if all you're trying to do is just make insane amounts of money, and like, I can vouch for Dan's stuff. It's good. Like there's no question. If you actually go through and apply, it's impossible not to make money, right? So coming at it from that perspective, I feel like there's different approaches to this game of marketing and business and entrepreneurship, right? Some people are here because they're like, I just want to make shitloads of money, right? And like that. Then there's other people that are like, I want to build a business. I want to build something that matters, right? Some people are like, I just love building businesses, period, right? Some people like me, I'm like, I just want freedom in something that allows me to be who I feel God has called me to be. What's your approach to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I definitely think of the things you said. Building the business is more fun to me. But I've also realized over time that I need to make a little shift away from that, right? There's this gray area where it's like you can build a business and be really technical about it, or you can just sell whatever to make a buck real quick.
Yeah.
And most people are going to be in between, not completely on one. So I'm finding myself slowly like shifting toward like, hey, I just need to do the thing that makes money, but like not, at the expense of like leading people the wrong way. So here's why. So growing up, like only child living in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. So like the only
you're
thing
from Indiana?
Yes.
That's so crazy. I'm from there. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were in Nebraska.
That's where my wife was from.
Oh, what part?
Yeah. Fort Wayne.
Okay, South Bend, down the street. Okay. So there's I don't recommend anybody takes a visit, but there's not much to do. So it's like you get into sports. So I played baseball and like I went all in. So I had Tommy John when I was 16 in high school. And that for a lot of people is like the end of the road. It's like I kept going. I trained really hard. I figured out all the different like ways and like broke down video and like looked at all the analytics and like was doing this stuff that like business owners do, but like before I even thought about business.
Yeah.
And I learned to be so nitty gritty. And the end of my career was actually because I had some mental issues and the yips and like overthinking about like surgery and like what people like thought of me and like how I was able to perform. And in college, it just like I got cut as a senior, which is like incredibly embarrassing. And I just put my head down. I didn't go outside for 2 weeks and I started doubling down on business and being really nitty gritty and just like putting my focus elsewhere helped me build a really good business into what it is today. And I'm like so thankful. Like at the time I was devastated that my career was over because like every kid thinks they're going to play in the major leagues. But, and when that ends, it's like you're devastated, but looking back, it's like my life would be much worse.
Yeah.
Statistically, if I had stayed down that path, I wouldn't know my wife, I wouldn't know my friends. Those things are all great. And you can be nitty gritty and it goes really far and you can build good relationships. But at the same time, a lot of times I find myself too far in the weeds of like, I want to build this business and make every little detail perfect.
Yeah.
But I also look and like, I know I'm young, like I'm 28, but at the same time, for some reason in my head, like if you're 27 or less, you're still a kid. But as soon as you turn 28, it's like,
that's so random.
It's like, it was a real eye opener for me. And as soon as 28 started approaching, I was like, man, I gotta like, at some point I want to exit and like enjoy my life. And I just have to start like doing things that are going to make money now instead of worrying about every little perfect thing. But one thing that I think a lot of people struggle with is like, if you have too many projects open at the same time, it's really hard to focus if you don't close up and tie down the first one. And that's something I struggle with. So it's like I try to make everything too perfect and it inhibits me from just launching the next thing. Like cold email has been on the plate since September. And believe me, it needs time. Like there's a lot that goes into software. A lot. But it could have been launched by now if I'm being completely transparent. Because I'm just so focused on like finishing one thing before I start the next one.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people struggle with that in a lot of different contexts. But now I'm learning to just like sell the thing that makes money because I want to make more money right now. And I want to move on with my life and like start growing again instead of just like flatlining.
So you say exit, and I'm going to bring this back to right where we just left off, which is pick a number. Like what's like, if you got this offer, you take it.
I did a calculation in my head that if I had like, I think it was $18 million, is it 16 or 18? I could essentially get 8% on that per year and still make like $100,000 a month. And then obviously you have to factor in taxes because you don't have anything to offset that if you're only taking money and not investing it. But that sounded like a good number to me. I actually came up with that after being at an M&A event that was put on by Amber Spears. When I asked some of the panelists in the room, and some of them were like former, they were in private equity, and like a couple of them had previous lives where they really screwed people over, and they talked about the things that they did. And I learned so much at that event. So thanks, Amber. But I learned so much, and they're like, hey dude, like don't deviate too much from email because like somebody's going to want to acquire an email marketing agency to add to their agency one day. And if you just become a generalized agency that does everything, it's like, it's tough. So I've thought about that, and it depends. Like if I'm approaching that number and I think I can get it, I might take it. But if I'm still having fun and I feel like I want to keep growing the same thing, then maybe I'll keep going. But
so here's the reason I ask, because so 18, right? So like, I mean, there's JR who I had on here. They're getting ready to, they're looking to exit, right? I know somebody else, one of my buddies down here, I think they're in the process of exiting for like 12 million, right? So like agency stuff, right? So that's totally possible, right? So let's just say your number 15 million or 18 million, right? So you make 18 million bucks, you pay your taxes, whatever that is, and pay out your people or whatever.
No, nothing. It's just taxes. So what I'm saying is that in order to like preserve that amount of money, you would need to basically take it over time. So like in a lot of cases, you want to avoid earnouts, because I have a friend who sold his agency and got absolutely railed on the earnout that was put in place, and the buyer can twist it in so many ways. And it's very sad actually to hear about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I've learned a lot too in real estate and Pace Morby, and like, I didn't pay taxes this year thanks to like the education in that space. My tax people, Carlotta Thompson, all them, they're wonderful. But I would take that money over the course of probably 2 to 3 years. That's fine with me. So I can properly invest it into real estate and not pay taxes on that.
Okay, great.
And take that money, earn 8% roughly on it per year.
Forget the specifics of it, but let's go 15 million bucks. Okay,
Sorry, I'm nitty gritty.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, cool. So let's say you get $15 million. You don't pay any taxes on it, whatever, it's invested or whatever. Cool, right? And I don't know, how long realistically do you think it could take you to get there?
That's a good question. I mean, at that event, they told me that like based off of revenue, you could still get like a 3x with an agency off of revenue. And I was like, wow, that means like in a worst case scenario, I could get like 5 or 6 pretty much right now. And like there's an element of my business that's, a little bit coaching. So
right.
It affects a little bit. Like, so let's say like I'm kind of like a third of the way there, basically. Okay. So I have that in mind, and obviously the more you do per year, the better multiple you're going to get, because it's just a bigger, more impressive thing to buy. So yeah, it's like if cold email goes really well, a buyer would probably want to see consistency for at least a couple of years before having confidence in it. So it's like on the low end, maybe a couple of years away.
Yeah. So okay, so let's say 3 years away, right? Roughly, right?
Let's say 3.
So you're 3 years away from 15 million bucks, right? Cool, great. Rewind a year ago, right? Or rewind where you're at the $400,000 a year mark, right? Well, that was a couple years ago, you said, right? So let's say a 5-year stretch here, right?
3 years ago.
Okay, so 6-year stretch, right? So from that point to this point, 6-year stretch, you make 15 million bucks. The alternative is look at Dan Henry. Dude made like $30 million. Never had a software, never. I mean, he did at one point, but that's not what made him any money, right? Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Okay,
different one. Yeah, but my thing is the guy makes 30 million bucks or whatever the number is, right? A lot of money, and take your taxes out of that and your expenses or whatever. He walked away with 15 million or north of 15 million, right? And I'm like, he didn't exit. He didn't have to build a massive team. He didn't have to do any, like, he literally was just sell stuff, right? And so it's interesting because I'm, watching my buddies exit or getting ready to exit or talking and having those conversations and things. And I'm asking myself, and I'm going, okay, well, if the purpose of building a real company, right, is just to exit, right? Like if that's the ultimate goal and the exit is that, I'm not talking about $1 billion exit, that's different, right? But like that's the goal, why build a company versus just go sell stuff, right? That will get you to that same level. If the goal is lifestyle anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I mean, like no disrespect to Dan at all. I almost bought his couch. Funny story. Cause he used to live in St. Pete.
Yeah.
But ended up being a little too big.
Yeah.
But he used to be a pizza guy, right? Yeah. So like what I find, and again, I'm not trying to like shoot down any internet marketers that had like crappy jobs before this, but I find that a lot of times the people that come from that background are just in it to make a buck because they want to get out of their situation.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times that leads people down that route of like, what can I do to make a buck today? And they're way on this end of the spectrum, like we talked about. And it's like, how far do they go towards building a company? And everybody has that spot where they end up. But it's difficult to say like always where you're going to land. But I just know that there is that trade-off, right? Like I would love to build a business to this amount of revenue and be able to multiply that versus a coaching business that may not be able to sell. Like And when I was in 100 million, the biggest thing that I learned, which is like when the
is
first
100 million, is that like Hermosi's mastermind or something?
No, like Joel Mary and Dan Fleshman. So I'm not in it anymore, but it's like, I like to do 1 year of masterminds too, just because it's like you meet most of the people.
Yep. That's
like,
it
was great.
Yep.
Like
1 year and then yep.
I love that.
Yep.
It was a great group. And Joel talked about all his problems selling BioTrust. And at first, nobody wanted to buy it. It was unsellable. BioTrust, not a coaching business, like selling supplements. Crazy. So they had to go in and like fix so many things over the course of like 2 or 3 years, a lot of damaged relationships and problems. And eventually they were able to sell as a 9-figure exit. And, he had one other main partner. So like that was a good payday.
Yeah.
So if you have the patience and you build something correctly, like it could be more worth it. But in the short term, it's always easier to collect the cash today and have a coaching business. But
I think Dan gets a lot of hate. And I know you weren't trying to do, I know you're not hating on him anyway, but like I bought a lot of coaches. I bought a lot of stuff from a lot of coaches. And like Dan's stuff is near the top. Like, I mean, he is good, right? I mean, that guy knows his stuff. And like, he's got his reputation and he knows that, right? But like
he owns it.
He owns it, and he's changed. Like, I mean, he's full blown Muslim now, and like, I mean, like dedicated. I thought it was a show, right? But like, I went to his house. I mean, like he praying, and his wife covers, and like, I mean, he's a changed man, like for sure. But like, he actually genuinely cares about his people, right? He wants people to win, right? Is he a complete asshole about it sometimes? Absolutely. Right. But like, guess what? Like I honestly really do believe that. Right. So I look at the question I asked myself with this is I went, okay, I'm going to wake up in a decade. Right. Like I've got to do something in a decade. Right. Like unless I die, right, I'm going to wake up in a decade and I'm going to be faced with whatever it is that I'm going to be doing there. And so when I looked at my life and I went, all right, at what point does my lifestyle not change anymore? Right. At what point of revenue? Yeah. Dude, it was not that much. Like for me, it was like $400,000 a year. Like after that, like the next tier of my life changing was like $20 million because that was like fly private, right? But like I live in a freaking 5,000 square foot house. I drive a Tesla and a tricked out Jeep and another one. We travel first class anywhere we want to go. We go on like anything more than this, like who cares, right? So I look at it and go, if you deposit $5 million into my bank account right now, my life changes zero. Like on a literal daily basis, nothing changes, right? And so I looked at it and I went, all right, well, I'm going to go. And if money was if money wasn't an issue, right? Like I'm going to end up with the same amount. What would I do? And for me, dude, agency sounds awful, right? Like building a business, a real business sounds awful, right? And like I give it to people that actually like businesses. That is not me, right? And so for me, I looked at it and I went, you know what I want? I want to have these conversations, right? And I want to get really, really good at like some of the core skills that I just like love. I love like framing and psychology and like I love that type of stuff, right? It's so much fun. And so I just sat down and went, cool, I'm going to do one thing, which is I'm going to go and I'm going to do whatever it takes and cut out everything else to get to $400,000, right? Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to sell. I will burn my email list off of it. Like I will promote. But once I hit that point, then I'm going to go and I'm actually going to go start building something that I want to work on for the rest of my life.
It's not to say that like when I exit that I would be done in business forever. It's just like I have other things I want to do. Like one thing that I don't talk about publicly much is like I want to be in a band. I've seen Metallica 26 times and there's nothing more inspiring to me than being 5 feet away in the middle of 80,000 other people.
That's crazy.
And part of me is like, it's like I'm approaching 30 and part of it is like, man, I need to do something so I can try to like do multiple dreams at once. But it's like for me to even get to the point where it's like I have my business in check. I was able to get married and like maintain a good relationship with not just my wife, but like other people. Also get back in shape because I let go a little bit when I started growing my business. And then now I finally like started to play guitar again a little bit since, for the first time consistently since I was a teen. And it's really hard to do all those things at once. But I feel like there has to be some kind of business component at all times. So like part of me is very passive and saying like, how much do I really need to grow this thing? Because you're 100% right. In 2022, I pocketed $1 million.
It's crazy, right? Like most people can't even fathom what that would be like. Right.
In 2023, due to all my investments and not growing as fast, I pocketed half of that. My life didn't change at all.
Right.
And I realized that $1 million, I got taxed $221,000 on that. And then when I pocketed 500, I made more investments and I paid zero in taxes. And my life, like the way that I live on a day-to-day basis did not change at all.
What's interesting is so I have this this thing that I call it the Freedom 2 ladder, right? And so there's like levels, right? And actually came from Sam, like the idea for this, at least. I was sitting there, it was in his quantum mastermind, and someone was asking him a question about, doing something. And he's like, should I do this or should I do this? And Sam's like, sounds like you want to do this. Like, why don't you go do that? And the guy's like, well, I don't have the cash for it. And Sam's like, well, how much money do you have? Like, what's your runway? And he goes, how about maybe 2, maybe 3 months of expenses, right? And like, dude, like dead silence, right? Like you can hear a pin drop, right? Yeah. And Sam looks at him and goes, I would lose my shit if I had less than $1 million in cash in the bank at any given time, right? Yeah. Like I'd freak out. And I was like, oh. He goes, and then the next line, which was, you don't even have the freedom to think until you have $100,000 in the bank, right? Like, and for him, it was $1 million. And so the freedom to ladder is like, okay, you don't have the freedom to breathe unless you have $10,000 in the bank, right? I don't care who you are or whatever. Like if you have debt, right? Like credit card debt or like personal debt, like what? Like until you have zero debt and $10,000 in the bank, like you don't have the freedom to breathe. Like you should don't go to bars, don't go to parties, like lock yourself in a room and work your face off, especially if you're a man, right? Like women, I can't speak for, I'm not one, right? Then there's 100,000, which is the freedom to think, right? Okay, like now I have some freedom to think like, okay, cool. I can go and I can look into the future and like nothing could change in my life if I stop working for the next 6 months. I can think now, right? And then at the $1 million, I call this the freedom to like lead, right? It's like, okay, now I feel like I can kind of like lead a little bit, right? I can take some hits, right? People can disagree with me, right? I can take some, I can invest in some people. I can, put money behind some stuff or whatever, right? Like at $1 million. And, it goes up from there. I look at it and I went, if I would have made decisions about what Josh at $1 million in the bank wanted at $10,000,
yeah,
LOL, right? Like what? Like no, not even close, right? And so I think a lot of people think of like, oh, I got to find my thing. I do believe that there's some people that know what they want to do for the rest of their life, right? At a young age. I'm not one of those people, right? And I wish I was, but I'm not. And so I look at this and I go, for me to sit down and like try to build something that like maybe I'm going to exit one day or like this, I'm like, I'd have to have so much passion. I think it is exponentially harder to build a real business than it is to make money, right? Like exponential. I just thought that was the only way you could do. Oh, I'm going to build a business. And then I'm like, oh, I can make money without building a real business. This is amazing. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would rather just go and do that. And it gets a bad rep for sure. But when I take a step back at it, I go, cool. My life is going to change. If I get to $10 million, I'm going to think about life and what I want to do differently than if I'm at $1 million and then we're at 500,000 or at 100,000. And so my question for you is, number one, do you agree that making money is way easier than building an actual real business?
Yeah. It's definitely a lot easier because it's like you can do that today, but building a real business takes a lot more patience. And the thing is, I can't fault people when they're at like 10K a month or whatever. And you can tell, like when you get to a certain level, by the way somebody talks and types and the things they do, the actions they take, you can kind of guess where they're at. But at that level, I understand that though. Like you just have to do what it takes to make money and survive. And as you learn and grow, then it becomes more clear to you what the next step is and the direction you want to grow. Now, some people don't mature beyond that point and they just want to either maturity or they just choose like, I would just want to, make 10K a month and just chill. But yeah, it all comes clearer to you over time. And I don't want to like blame people for that, but yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to just make $1 today than it is to build a business. Yeah. But for me, it's like I got started in services, and I think that services are a wonderful place for a lot of people to start. And I just never got out of services. Like I was very inspired by coaching businesses. Like, when you're beginning and you see another coach and you're super inspired, like I had a handful of people that I like really looked up to. Some of them I still am good friends with today. Some of them went in a different direction. Yeah. I kind of had that phase where I wanted to be like the coach and the guru, but now I'm like stepping back a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? If I want to be the face of something, I want it to be something that has nothing to do with business. Yeah. And like music, right? Like you can't exit a band. Like, sure, you could sell like your library, but at the end of the day, like you're doing it for fun, especially if you already have money. Yeah. Like I'm not a fatherless 18-year-old who has a rage and is like trying to like make music and it's my only shot. But it's like, I just want to do it for fun and see what happens and use a lot of the lessons that I've learned in business to help me. But we'll get there at some point. But that's kind of how I've evolved too. Just like that's earlier you asked about like exit plans and like years into the future. And I just frankly don't think too far ahead yet for that reason, because I don't know where I'm going to end up. And like, if I take one step, like I know the next step that I'm taking. And I know that after I take that step, I'll see the next one more clearly. Yeah. So Yeah, it's just different levels of thinking.
Do you think that like your view or approach of like what you wanted to build in the future was different at 10,000, at 100,000 than at a million?
Man, at 10,000, I didn't know. I didn't really have too many $10,000 months because it just like shot up so quickly during COVID.
Or I just meant like you had 10,000 in the bank, right? Like were you ever like broke?
No, I'm not going to be here. And I had $47 in my bank account, sleeping on my mom's couch in the basement.
I literally was that like, I think it was like $87 or something like that was my low point because my car broke.
Always ends in a 7.
It says,
I'm just
I think it was 80, 87, 89, something. It was under $100. I know that. And then I actually I slept on a red guy. I have a picture of it somewhere. My buddy actually built the guy that built this.
Yeah.
Like his couch. He had his frat house.
That's an OG right there.
That's crazy, right? So he had this frat house. I mean, like I'm talking like party, like ragers, like 5 nights a week. Cops were there all the time. Drugs, alcohol, girl, like this. And here is Josh locked up in a room, like little thing, working on like, my next webinar presentation or whatever. I'm like, I go out and go to the bathroom and there's like people snorting coke off the thing or whatever, right? Like at time, it got crazy, right? So like when you first got started, do you think that version of you would go, yes, this is accurate of where you thought you were going to be or get to?
I had a sense that I would always be in services, but I also had this sense of like, one day I'm going to play baseball again. And I'm just doing this to like survive and grow, but also like I'm good at it. So let me do both. And I've always told my wife that like I've 4 big things that I like to do. So it's like hang out with her, build businesses, stay in shape, and play guitar. And I'm almost at the point where I'm doing like all 4 of them at the same time, but it's super hard.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was just like business and baseball, which is like, over time evolved into like staying in shape.
Do you like staying in shape?
I do.
Like you like going to the gym?
I don't like thinking about it, but once I'm there, I feel really good. And I'm also just like so high on the music that I'm listening to in my own garage, just blasting it. Dude, I hate using headphones.
Yeah.
I hate it. Only for calls. But yeah, it just like brings me to another place once I finally start, and it's fun.
Dude, I hate it.
I like it.
I hate it so much. I tell my trainer this every day.
Yeah, I mean, there's always levels to everything, right? It's like I could just hang out where I'm at. I could just, accept the money that's rolling in and understand that it might recede a little bit if I don't touch my business. But I'm always intentionally or unintentionally looking for new challenges. So
yeah, but
there's a lot of similarities, man. There really
sucks.
are. There really are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm officially a gym bro though. I go. I'm
good. I know some people, they're entrepreneurs that very much despise the gyms.
Yeah.
But
we got to do it.
Viral for it.
I felt like I feel like it's a moral obligation for me. Like, and that's what I told him when I first started. I'm like, I'm here. It's funny. I walked in. He goes, "So what are your goals?" I was like, "Bro, I want to be able to take off my shirt and my wife to think I'm hot. That's it." Right? Like that is my goal. But for me, it was like this moral thing of like I feel like I'm not taking care of my body, right? Yeah. And like it needs to. Kind of shifting the on that topic, kind of shifting it to kind of the last piece of our conversation here. Are you religious at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me about that. I see the cross on your.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's actually I like that topic because growing up, I went to a Catholic school at first. And then I went to a public school. So it's like since I was a kid, I always had ingrained in me the things that I should be doing. And for the most part, I was smart enough to think about like, why do I believe that?
Yeah.
But then when the second college I went to, I went just for baseball. It was a super Christian college called Cedarville University in the middle of Ohio.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Division II, leveling up.
Driven right past it.
And I learned so much like about how like the actual, like, believe me, most of the kids that went there, like, no disrespect to the school, it's great, but like most of them are just absolutely homeschooled, and like since the moment they were born, is like, here's your Bible and like learn it, every single word.
Yep.
So like I did not have that coming in because Catholic school as a kid was very much just like, oh, like here's a little bit about the New Testament and here's some story, and I do nothing about the Old Testament or like that like belief in Jesus is the way to salvation. It was just like I didn't really understand what I was doing or what I was there for. As soon as you have to take Bible classes there, so I took them and I started like understanding the actual like concepts of Christianity. I was like, this is cool. I can get behind this further. And I actually disagree with a lot of things in Catholicism now.
Yeah.
That are just like weird rules that it's like, how does that make any sense? Yeah. So Yeah, over time, it was great having experience there and just like being closer to God. But it's like as an adult, it just gets harder because it's like you get busy, and then sometimes like if you don't find a great church, you're not motivated to go.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I find myself right now. And like I hate to say that, but it's just like the truth. It's like I know that I should go more often.
Yeah.
And I have the Bible app, and I make sure, like, I don't have many notifications on my phone, but I make sure that pops up every day so I can read it, and I do most days. Yeah. So I can at least like spend some time, because it's like, even if I wasn't religious, some of the things that you read in the Bible are like, wow, that's actually like a really good way of thinking to live my life. Yeah. And when you combine that and know that like that's the God that created you is like also the one that is like helping you design your life in like a way that's good for you, you start to realize it's not so much about following rules, which is what I learned as a kid. And it's more like the more you live that way of life, the more free you actually are. Yeah. And that's kind of where I am with it.
I grew up in church and then left for a while and then tried church after church after church. And I'm like, these all suck. Right. So it really does make a difference. Why the cross?
I didn't at first buy this just because of my faith. So it's actually really fun. And I've never had like a phase where I started making a lot of money and went out and like just bought a bunch of dumb things. But I do remember the first time that I made like 30 grand in a week. I was like, yo, I got to go buy something. So I went out
one time.
I went out and I bought a used F-Type for it, like fully souped up. 2018, it was like 60 grand. I was like, all right, this car was like almost 100 new. I'm balling. And I went out and like got this chain and a watch. And I was like, okay, I have this. But like the more that I've worn it, it just like more people point it out.
Yeah.
And since that time, I've definitely gotten a little more back into the Bible than I was then. And it's like a good reminder every time I look in the mirror of like, if I've had a bad day or whatever's going on, like bad day, like to me, or bad day of like me, like not being good to other people or to myself or to God. It's just like a reminder that like of the cross and like the sacrifice that was made. Like,
yeah. And the reason I asked about that specifically is, I'm quite religious, right? And the Bible and Christianity and all that. But I think that one of my favorite things to debate is religion, right? And like right now I'm studying Islam a lot because of Dan and his wife, right?
I actually respect that a lot because like I don't really know much about it. And a lot of white people have, very not so nice things to say, racist things to say.
Yeah, for sure.
But, and like obviously like I'm not Dan, I'm not into that, but like to learn about it is probably very useful.
Yeah, well, I had his wife send me some books. I'm reading one right now, The Islamic Jesus, because like Islam it's interesting because like they still believe in Jesus, but they believe he was a prophet, right? They don't believe he actually died on the cross, right? They believe they ascended into heaven. They believe he's going to be the one that defeats the Antichrist. So when he's going to come back, he's going to be the one that defeats the Antichrist. I'm like, but like Muhammad is the the ultimate one, and very, very interesting stuff, right?
That is strange,
right? But what I believe in Christianity, and I don't use. I always clarify this. I don't use Christianity or religion in marketing, and I am pretty opposed to anyone that does. I think that you can. There's certain times when it is good per se, right? But these people that are like quoting Bible verses of like, I'm going to teach you God's secrets of blah 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 blah, and I'm not calling anybody in specific, right? I'm just like broadly speaking. I'm like, the Bible is very clear about doing that, right? But the three pillars that if I were to say, okay, the Bible's a big book. There's a lot to uncover with this faith. Like, what do you got to study? Where do you even start, right? And I think the three things of Christianity, if you want to like study it, is number one, just Jesus, right? Obviously, his life, his birth, like his story. It's all about him anyway.
That's
right?
what I learned in Catholic school. Yep. That was about it, though.
Right. So then the second piece is very specifically is the cross, right? And specifically what happened at the cross, because that is like fundamental to Christianity, right? And the salvation and like the fact that you cannot earn your way in, and like actually all went down there, and like understanding that like, dude, I was told that Jesus was some shepherd boy, right? That was like, oh, love everybody or whatever. Like this dude literally was the guy that was supreme over all, came down to walk among humans, right? Knew what it was like to be tired, to weep, to lose someone, got beaten. Like people literally spit on the face of God and ripped off his beard, right? And then in that state, goes to the cross and took all of the sin and darkness for all eternity. All it ever will be simultaneously at the same time, and he won, right? Like, hallelujah, like amazing, right? So like understanding what happened there. And then third is the Trinity. And if you could understand those three things, I think like everything else in the Bible basically just points back to that, right? And understanding that whole entire context. And every other religion that I've studied and done, there's contradiction somewhere, right? Like it doesn't make sense. But like Christianity is the only religion where a God like came down, because I do believe there's other gods, right? Because God doesn't say there's no other gods. He says, don't have any other gods before me, right? In Psalms, by the way, it's like literally God talks about being in a council of other gods and that he is ultimate. And I'm like, I was never taught this.
I've always interpreted gods as like the things that other people put on a pedestal rather than like other.
And that's what we're taught. Yeah. But bro, so we went through this whole series in our church, like literally in the Bible, it talks about how there's like other gods that God created, like low G gods, and that God sits in the council of the other gods and like gave them dominion and like over this. And it's talk about in Psalms and in the Old Testament, like it's all there. And so when you actually look at this as this entire context, I go, okay, where do you even begin with this conversation, right? And those are the three things that I'm like, if people are like, where do you go? I'm like, study Jesus, number one, number two, the cross, number three, the Trinity.
There wasn't enough emphasis on that as a kid, but I think it's because they didn't expect you to understand it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually for people that ask, I try to like give a quick summary of the Bible. But another thing that I heard of that you may know about is a lot of people don't, but there's like other books that didn't make it into the Bible.
Like
I don't know
Enoch and
like
stuff,
what's in those or like what your thoughts are.
I wrestle with the whole concept of like when people are like, do you think that the Bible is perfect, right? The infallible word of God. And I go, yes. And context. Do I think that it is perfectly translated through all out history and, without flaw? Absolutely not. Also, I, at least in my current state of belief, because these change as I learn more, but when God says it is the word of God, right? Like the word of God is true. Well, it says in the Bible, it's like the word of God was Jesus in flesh, right? Jesus was the word, right? So when I think of, is the word of God true? I think Jesus is complete truth.
This whole new rabbit hole that you could go down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
I appreciate you coming on. This was really fun. Where can people find out more about you and like promote something? Tell people where to go buy your stuff or go learn more about you.
Yeah. So as of right now, the easiest way and the most high value thing I can give you is faqemail.com. So basically you go there and there's this document you can download that answers every single possible question you could have about email. And if you want to buy something, let's say you want to buy cold email, go to the part that talks about cold email and click the link. And it's really easy. So faqemail.com it's amazing.
Cool.
You won't know unless you go there.
Cool. We're going to do some rapid fire questions to wrap up here. And then I have one question that we always end the podcast with. Are you ready?
I am.
All right.
Is that one of them?
That was not one of them, but I would kick myself for a very long time if I did not bring up Tom Brady, right? Because I know you're a Bucs fan. I'm a Brady fan. I'm a Patriots fan, right? But the Bucs, when Tom Brady went there, what's your coolest memory of Tom Brady?
Receiving a hand signed thank you note from him in the mail about 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God! So like recently?
Yeah.
From what?
I worked on a little project. It's under like a very lengthy NDA. It doesn't have to do with like the teams or anything. It's a smaller thing. But yeah, he was informed that I helped and sent a hand signed thank you. I posted it too.
Yeah, so I briefly saw that you posted something about it. I didn't actually read it. Yeah, but that's super cool.
But other than that, just coming back from 28 to 3, it's like that is the epitome.
Cool. What's one book that you think everybody should read?
Dude, I don't read that much. I'm going to be real honest with you. Probably like the E-Myth.
What is one principle that has served you really well in life?
If you leave an opportunity for somebody else to do well, it's not going to get done well. But if you do it yourself and complete it as best as you can and make it easy for the other person, you're going to do really
well. What's one bucket list item that you haven't done yet?
Starting a band and actually like playing on a stage in front of thousands of people.
Who's one person you want to meet before you die?
I've met 3 out of 4 Metallica members, so I'd probably say Tom.
He's in like my top 3 for sure. Elon's number 1. Trump is number 2, and then 3rd is cool. Last question. Fast forward to the end of your life, you're on your deathbed, and everybody that you have been called to serve. So not everybody in the world, but just like the people that you've been called to serve, that you've impacted, they forget everything that you've ever taught them or said to them or anything about you. But you get to leave them with one final message or word of advice that they will believe and live out at face value, meaning like no justification needed. Whatever you tell them, like they will live out as gospel. What's the message?
Everything matters, but nothing matters. Nobody will remember anything that you do when you die, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And like, that's the important part of it. And if you make a better life for other people, and if you lead them to God, you're doing a good thing.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it.